lived their life. And when I was getting lost, I found you. When the night turns to day and the moon starts to fade, will you be there? Will you be there? When the sky starts to rain, will you run? Will you stay? Will you be there? Or will you be there? Right when the love runs out, world turning upside down. Not gonna let you go. Keep you close. Thousands are in the crowd. Minutes are counting down. Promise that you won't go. Right when the love runs out. Right when the love runs out. Millions of people look for the light, dancing around like stars in the sky. And when I was in the dark, I found you. What if the lightning never strikes? And when the rain stops, we'll be dry. When the sun begins to rise, I'll find you. When the night turns to day and the moon starts to fade, will you be there? Will you be there? When the sky turns to gray, will you run? Will you stay? Will you be there? Or will you be there? Right when the love runs out, world turning upside down. Not gonna let you go. Keep you close. Thousands are in the crowd. Minutes are counting down. Promise that you won't go. Right when the love runs out. Right when the love runs out. Right when the love runs out.
Okay, it's not how it used to be. If only you could see how much you still mean to me. Okay, got a little far away. You got a little carried away. I wish you would have stayed.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. I believe this is week 2. I was gone for the first one, but happy to finally be here in the studio with Shibby here on color. I'm Nyarko, and it is nice to meet everybody for this new season. We got New World Esports Orion versus First Class, starting off with the draft here. But Shibby, you want to say a few things before we get deep into this?
I'm just always surprised at how well Blue Otter shows out. I love the chat. I love everything about Blue Otter League. And my first week had a very warm welcome. Nyarko, I'm glad that we finally get to meet up. And yeah, we're just blowing past this draft right now. Zaya, Rakan being taken away, Varus banned from First Class. So a lot of bot lane attention here. Rightfully so. I think right now there's just a couple champions in the meta that really break the game in terms of effectiveness in the bottom lane, support and ADC wise. Zaya, one of those characters. Varus as well can be flexed across both support and AD carry, as we see the Udyr being taken away here. My pick for the best current jungler in League of Legends at the moment.
Udyr certainly is really strong, can get in under a lot of these other champions that are looking to scale late, but at the same time doesn't really get pushed out of the early game by the likes of Jarvan, Xin Zhao, those kind of high tempo junglers. So I think it's a perfect balance and a thing that Orion is doing a good job banning out. I'm a little bit surprised that we both see the Zaya and Rakan bans on Blue Squad side. I feel that might be a little bit of overkill coverage towards that lane, especially because there's still a lot of big ADC options on the table here. B1 Caitlyn could be something that you decides to go for, given how strong that is right now. I'm going to be saying New World Order mentally for a very long time here, especially given that Orion has an O at the start, so it's just really ruining acronyms in my eyes. But that being said, we are getting a first pick. It's not an AD carry. In fact, it's going to be the Viego for Denali the King.
Yeah, the Viego prioritization here, absolute monster on the champion. Solo queue suggests that he's pretty good at Viego. So I mean, I love that the fact that we're gonna get this prioritization on some of the more personal champions. It's kind of what these platinum level leagues kind of have, right? You kind of throw meta a little bit out of the door. You take some of the strong picks away. As First Class is gonna straight rotate Jax and Rammus. Well, one, a very, very strong meta pick, and then Rammus looking to kind of counter any AD shenanigans and trying to get like an advantageous jungle matchup, right? If you see him in the 2v2, Rammus has a lot of lockdown potential, kind of can really weather the storm that Viego kind of brings into the table, and then just scales really, really well as a tank pick, as an engage. I like this pick. I don't think we're going to see anything shenanigans here. It'll be Rammus jungle as the Vayne gets rotated in for, like you said, Orion here.
And this is definitely a flex pick, given the fact that it's immediately snapped in alongside the Lulu. It implies to me that this is going to be for Boogie there in the bot lane. But there is the possibility that we're going for a Vayne top up against the Jax, just trying to use that range to your advantage. Although Leap Strike makes it a little bit more difficult for you to actually leverage the power that the Vayne is known for on that side of the map. First Class now on their third pick to round out this first set of selections. I love the Orianna. This champion has been sleeper OP for a while now, and the more explicit buffs recently have turned it from sleeper OP to highly caffeinated OP, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the AP ratio buffs have kind of gone under the radar, right? The cooldown as well and the mana. I think she hits a lot harder than people are expecting. It was always kind of devastating to get hit by like the W Shockwave or Shockwave W, but now it just kind of feels like it can nearly one-shot some of the more squishier characters. I wouldn't be surprised if this Orianna looks to just go solo ulting the Vayne or solo ulting the Lulu, because that's more than an appropriate use as kind of this nuke button. As the Caitlyn being taken away here, no hard counters. Orion really, that indicates to me that the Vayne is going bottom lane. You ban that Caitlyn away. That's probably one of her worst matchups. First Class, though, taking the Annie away as well. Very strong pick in the mid lane. I assume they're going to ban ASOL as well. I believe it is enabled for Blue Otter. Just a quick reminder, Yumi will not be enabled this week, but we don't have to worry about that because we're still on the previous patch. That's tomorrow's patch. But Syndra being taken away, probably one of the more consistent matchups that we've seen against Orianna across all pro level leagues. It's just kind of like the Syndra Orianna, same thing as Corki Azir in my eyes, right? It's just kind of like the handshake mid lane.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Syndra has really kind of pivoted in their role ever since that mid scope a few months back. Now they very much are a scaling champion with decent insurance in that early game in the form of the scatter of the week just to get them out of sticky situations. I think Orion is doing a good job, meanwhile, with their own bans, putting the clamps down onto First Class's bot lane. And honestly, I'm kind of concerned about how First Class has approached their first 3 picks. We usually see Red Side reserve their top lane pick to be a counter at the very end with R5 instead of going for it really early on. And now, because we see this pivot to where we're picking it so quickly, now there's a lot of ways for Orion to really kind of block out any real counters for this Vayne. The Tristana going to be pretty aggro for Peace Pipe 13, but it's once again not really a specific response to the Vayne. I think this is going to be a pretty even matchup early, and what worries me is that late game Boogie on this Vayne could really turn into the hyper carry we know this champion can be.
Well, the issue First Class has now is that they kind of need to come up with some follow-up engage, right? Like, you don't want to have to pick something like the Alistar, the Leona, the Nautilus into a team comp like Orion's, right? It's hell in a handbasket when you have to go against double range as this melee support, especially against Lulu Vayne, who can kind of just poke and chip away at you until you're low enough to where even if you engage, it's pretty much a death sentence. At the same time, if you're putting all that onus onto the Rammus here, can get completely shredded. Yes, you have the Oriana ball, but that's more of a ball delivery system. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a follow-up engage. It's more of the follow-up damage. You need a little bit more CC. You need a little bit more flexibility with something like an Alistar, like a Leona, like a Nautilus here. If they do end up going that Enchanter route, you're pretty much putting all the marbles on Rammus hitting a nice QR into taunting the Vayne, and that's already when the polymorph comes out. That's when potentially QSS can be bought. You need some sort of secondary engage here that keeps Orion honest and makes them so that they have to kind of pick and choose who they're CCing and who they're focusing, so that you can give your carries room to work with. That's a Zillion. Not the biggest engage option unless you can really land that double ball, but you're just hoping that this Rammus can run amok against Orion's team comp. They have a lot of zone control. Polymorph is an ability. You have the Event Horizon from the Vigar. You also have tentacles that you kind of have to fight into. Orion's team comp is pretty well designed to kind of catch whatever First Class is throwing at them.
I think overall, Orion has done a really good job just kind of playing to their strengths with their composition. They have a lot of counter engage, a lot of anti-dive capabilities as well, especially if Alawi kind of is pulled down from that top lane and actually becomes more of a team fighter. Obviously, you really don't want to throw yourself at a champion that just ERs you and all of a sudden your entire team is getting tentacle timed. But at the same time, First Class, if they do fare well in these individual lanes, I think they have the chance at making this composition work at the end of the day. Rammus is an immensely powerful engager. Sure, they may be the only real source of raw engage on First Class side, but there's tons of follow-up. Tristana can jump in. Oriana has Shockwave as well, which honestly, given the fact that Red Squad could just try to play off of bushes with the Zillion, with the Tristana and the Oriana, it does mean that there still is a chance that you have other ways to initiate into team fights. Jax similarly able to follow up quite nicely onto the Tristana, onto the Rammus, and the Zillion is just going to ensure that if anybody gets hit by a wall of CC, a wall of burst damage from something like the Vayne or the Vagar, at least they get a second lease on life because of the support.
Yeah, I think the most underrated part of this kind of composition is that if this Zillion goes for that more support max build where they max E instead of Q, this Rammus is going to be going absolutely mock speed with his Q. And they really have kind of like a one-way composition, right? Everybody goes in, and that's kind of it, right? Oriana can kind of play the mid-range game. Jax is going to go in with the counter strike and leap strike. Tristana is going to jump in with the W, hoping to get resets. Rammus obviously has one way in. And if Orion position themselves correctly, if they're not clumping up, if they're not grouping, if they're playing around the anti-CC options that they have with the polymorph, with the Event Horizon, also the Vayne with her E, right? If they can all kind of use these abilities and stagger the engage that First Class has, Rammus, if he goes in and he gets CC'd, right? The Tristana instinctively jumps in. The Jax jumps in. Well, now you don't have your main tank and you have the rest of Orion focusing down your Tristana that has lost her only movement ability, focusing down the Jax that after a couple seconds loses the counter strike, loses any sort of durability here. And now Orion can just pick and pull First Class's team composition apart. Orion has a harder game to play, but if executed correctly, First Class should never be able to kind of touch the carries of Vigar, of Vayne, who are going to be weak in the early game, but as the game goes on, 25, 35, 40 minutes in, that's when they're really going to start kind of hitting these power spikes that you expect from these champions.
Yeah, certainly. And given the fact that I think Orion has outdrafted First Class, at least in regards to the way that they pick their champions in response to positions that First Class were showing, this is definitely them showing that they're confident because they do have a lot of winning matchups, but there's still matchups that need to have specific pain points hit at the correct times in order to really pop off. I want to see Denali the King get a few good ganks off early and hopefully make macro calls so that they aren't immediately counter engaged by the Rammus during fights. I want to see Zyke on this Alawi up top side of the map actually bully the Jax early. This is a constant debate that we see in the community right now. How do you deal with the Jax given the fact that they have a surprisingly decent early game and they just scale into absolute monsters? Maybe Alawi's the answer here, but it does mean that you have a must answer lane. You need to be able to smash this Jax. And bot side of the map, this is the only place where we saw kind of a counter pick from First Class side. They went for the Tristan into the Vayne, but still the Vayne has a lot of defensive tools to respond to something like Tristana's rocket jump. If Zillion can't hit CC and Tristana, it has to be the one to initiate engages with maybe Rammus following up afterwards. Vayne can condemn them backwards, get space. Lulu can throw out their W onto any of these champions and stop them from really getting down onto their AD carry. And just in general, while I am favorable for blue side's composition right now, these, as I said before, are a bunch of different kind of narratives and continuities we need to see actually fulfilled by Orion's team if they really want to walk home with one game up in this best of 3 series.
Yeah, Jax allegedly had a weak early game. The classic counters were things like the Renekton Jax matchup where Renekton would win early, set the Jax back far enough, and then that window of opportunity, you can kind of look to win the game almost in a 5v4S setting. But with the Jax changes like you mentioned, with all the different kind of buffs and reworks, pseudo reworks that he's gotten, he kind of just is an all-around good champion. Has somehow dodged the nerf bat of Riot. I don't think for much longer, unless they just really want to see Jax in the spotlight. Alawi has that 1v1 potential, but eventually Jax just kind of outvalues her both in the side lane and in team fights, right? Alawi is almost pigeonholed to kind of go the hull breaker Alawi build that we've been seeing really popularized, and that's all you can really do. Keep Jax in the side lane, keep him out of team fights, and hope that the rest of your team with the Tristana, with the Oriana, with this Rammus Zillion engage can handle the 4v4, but with Vigar, Vayne, and Lulu kind of, like you said, being rotated as soon as some of these champions have been kind of picked up on the side of First Class, it's very difficult to get the perfect engage. A lot of these engages are going to be kind of rough and tough, kind of subpar engages, right? It might be burning all the cooldowns onto a Vigar or burning everything onto the Vayne, where you have something like the Wild Growth, the Polymorph, the Shields. All the meanwhile, if anybody gets a little too low, Denali can just look to take over team fights. The reset potential for this squad is absolutely insane because you don't even necessarily have to kill somebody with the Vigar Primordial Burst. You just get them low enough and Denali's just going to come in and take over here. So kind of keeping them in check is going to be what First Class's MO is going to be. They definitely control a lot of these objective team fights, right? The early Dragons, the early Rift Heralds, that's where they really shine at that level 6 mark. I think it's pushing the game pace to an uncomfortable position where Orion, they have to be forced to take fights where they don't want to, while First Class is pushing the agenda, right? 24 minutes Dragon Soul, 21-minute Baron here. That's where they can really start to leverage their champions' just insane team fighting potential.
All right. Well, I think that this shows there's a lot of different ideas that need to be answered. And I think these are the kind of comps we want to see early on in the BOL season, Chibi, because they clearly are going to be playing champions that test their skills and concepts that kind of come through later on in the season and may become pay points for these teams. I think are going to be answered early by both Orion and First Class here. So with that in mind, we're going to wait for the rest of the spectator delay to tick down, and we're going to be thrown onto the Rift for game number 1 very shortly, but for this first matchup of the BOL Platinum Division between Orion and First Class.
it's not a home. Going through the motions, killing time, waiting for a reason or a sign. Before I fall, I need to know, are you still holding on? Have you lost hope? 'Cause it's not fair to keep me close with broken promises. I need you to let me go.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League. We are here with a game between New World Esports, Orion, and First Class, taken to the Rift for the first time versus one another here in week number 2. Seeing a pretty classic 5-point, as these comps, I think, are where we're going to see real explosiveness. Not a whole lot of shenanigans early, but once it comes to those team fights, the need for First Class to go for some big engages, and New World Esports need to answer some of these scalers like the Jax, means that we're going to have a real banger ahead of us. Shibby, what are you looking for out of this early game?
Honestly, I think you kind of highlighted it well, right? If Denali can get some kind of early ganks off, really look to get some pressure onto these laners of First Class, that's where they can kind of bridge that I feel the early to mid game gap, where they have like really well thought out scaling options in the Vigar, in the Vayne, but it'll be really rough for them to deal with if First Class kind of force the issue on the dragons, on the objectives, right? If Truist can kind of use and leverage this bot lane advantage that the Tristana and Zillion should have, right? The push, the natural shove, the lane control, start turning that into dragons, start turning that into early objectives, then really control the pace of the game. That's what I'm looking from Truist and First Class. I think it really just starts with these junglers, because they're the most important role, at least from minutes 3 until 14, I'm gonna say.
And we are seeing some pretty interesting starts for both of these junglers. They're going leashless, but there is a ward there at the red buff pit for Truist. So Denali the King might be able to understand that with this cross-map ability, they could look for some early pressure, maybe even a cheese gank bot. It looks like first they're going to start up on their Krug zone, just see how these pushes begin. Mental Boomer taking Glitter Lance level 1 is actually pretty surprising to see here on the Lulu. Clearly they're playing without any kind of fear. They're just going to poke down Peace Pipe and Peptic for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Vayne can kind of tumble the bombs, there's not really any need to go E at the moment, right? You can start Glitter Lance, you can go E later, as Jax classically gonna start the Counter-Strike here, trading into, I'm gonna say his name is Zayek. So that's what I'm gonna pronounce it right now. I believe that is an I. So I think really what we're looking for in this bot lane is that Peace Pipe and Peptic here, once they hit level 13, is now Bruiser. Truist is here.
And this is a really good arrival for the Rammus. Already Zyke has taken some bad trades. Bruiser goes low, but it just doesn't matter. Big pick off for First Class to get on the board.
That's how you control the pace, right? That's the meta right now, by the way. We've been hearing a lot of Twitter chatter, right? Junglers, they full clear, they gank top. They may do one more camp, and then they'll gank again, right? We're in a super gank-heavy meta at the moment, and so picking that Rammus, snowballing, right? Getting that small lead onto Jax here, kind of setting Alawi back is what you need to do, because if she's allowed to set up her tentacles lane, if she's allowed to kind of start controlling the wave state, it'll become really rough for Bruiser to start trading into them, as Boogie eats a Q here, and that natural push coming out from the Tristana Zillion lane, really just coming into fruition. And now you see Rammus kind of unbothered in that bottom lane, while Viego is relegated to just full clearing at the moment. Is topside though. Bruiser might be in some trouble.
The soul is pulled out of the Jax, but they're just able to back off. We'll have to
Ow.
go tentacle time for a little bit, but there's just no approach option there for Denali the King because of the way in which Bruiser's approaching this lane and the assistance they got from Truist earlier. And this is kind of a nightmare start for New World Esports. They really need to get this Alawi ahead, but unfortunately, even in the raw 1v1 when the waves first crashed into one another, Shibby, Zayak just seems like they're struggling on this pick right now. We've been seeing Bruiser get really good counter strikes off, get a big health advantage, and from there, that's what made this champion imminently gankable. So now Zayak is just going to have to try to hold the wave on their side, farm up before they could go for any kind of aggressive plays. And now this is giving a relatively free early game over to this champion that we've already talked about as being a massive threat in this metagame.
Yeah, I think the thing to note here is that, you know, CS leads for jungle and top is what's kind of keeping this relatively even. But Bruiser, he doesn't care about CS. Nyarko, he wants kills. He's out for blood right now. Zayak takes another bad trade. He's dead.
Oh man, this is truly horrendous for New World Esports. They cannot put Zayak on another champion like this because already the gold given over to Bruiser in the competent hands that they are clearly demonstrating they have with the Jax will probably be enough to put this entire top lane away in favor of Red Squad. First Class have now found the boon topside that they need to really get Rammus to focus elsewhere, and we see already the kind of priority that we're getting out of Peace Pipe and Peptic bot side of the map. This is still a very safe lane as well. Viego going to struggle to gank against Peace Pipe, who can just rocket jump away. Peptic has their stun up as well, alongside once they hit level 6 in ult to try to get them out from under the Ghost King. So overall, right now, New World Esports just have to sit there, farm up, and hope that we get an overextension from First Class as they get all the momentum in the world to start us off.
Yeah, you can't hope to gank this bot lane, right? They have to be egregiously pushed up right now, right? Because you have the E, you have the stun, you have so many ways for this team to get out, and really, crucially, there's no CC setup other than potentially a flash polymorph that Mental Boom can do here. You don't have an Alistar, you don't have an Nautilus, you don't have anything that can set up this really devastating CC lock that you need for this Viego. He primarily brings damage as Truist, not giving Zayak any room to breathe.
Zayak wanting to walk down into River, but it is just to their death. Bruiser picking that kill up, and the gold firmly now in Bruiser's favor. And look at the board, just solely off the place top side of the map. Blue Squad has fallen so far behind, about 1,000 gold, and that's giving the encouragement necessary for Rammus to just run at and 1v1 this Viego.
Yeah, this is really rough. You've gotten topside control now. Viego can never walk in there if Jax goes missing. If he just leaves the lane completely, you have to give up your wolves. You have to give up your Gromp and blue buff here. Relegated to go into this bot side. His only chance to start ganking for easy because Vygar is at level 6. The cage is online. Solemn is a very immobile mage, right? You have the flash. You can try to regank and just really burst him out with the Viego ultimate and the primordial burst here. That is the one shot you have right now because bot lane firmly under First Class's control. And as we see Bruiser just kind of having his way with the Alawi.
All right, well, we are getting a little bit of a scuffle in this bot side. River, Boogie, and Mental Boomer have priority for the time being, but the Vayne walking a little bit too far forward, getting taunted up, tries to tumble away. Mental Boomer doing a good job killing, and now from the backline, Denali is just able to shred through Peace Pipe, and now has the rocket jump to jump forward, can get the reset as well, doesn't even want the Zillion body. That's a double kill for Denali the King, and all of a sudden, NWE find a foothold back into this game.
A very over-aggressive First Class. They simply did not respect the reset potential. Mental Boom coming out with some excellent peeling with the Lulu W, with the E here, just allowing Denali to kind of... Woo! Bruiser? He's going to
Bruiser, yeah, he just gets out with the flash.
Yeah,
oh, man.
That's really well played. But I like the fact that finally bot lane, they've taken some kills. They've gotten the dragon. Maybe top lane is a bit of a mess for them, but now they have somewhere they can focus. They have somewhere to exploit here. And so far, New World Esports, they found a foothold in this bottom lane, even up the gold, 13 apiece almost.
I will say, I think First Class is still ahead overall on the map. Because when you look at the way that the gold is concentrated, sure, it's great that it's on the Viego. I wish it was on Boogie, because maybe then you have this bot lane who can answer back late game versus Bruiser. Right now, I don't think this Viego is going to be enough, especially with the fact that Zyke is basically a dead fish up top. There's no real answer, especially early on, to shut down this Jax. He's just going to continue to run the roost up there because it's just so hard to rotate a full bottom lane early on for something like a Rift Herald fight or like an attempt at a shutdown. And now, once again, Truist, I recognize this is a strong point on the map. They're just going to ult in, get the taunt, and now that's 4 raw kills over to the Jax.
I'm going to say this right now. New World Esports, they haven't unlocked the top side of the map. It is completely dark over there. Mid lane and bot lane only exists right now, Nyarko, for New World Esports here. I think, like you said, top is pretty much lost here as Truist with the complete confidence going in onto Denali, but you don't win that 1v1 just yet. He's got quite a bit of an item lead over you. Unfortunately, you did rush the Bramble Vest into this plated steel cap, so you don't have that kind of raw item advantage that you would because of the double kill that Denali got in that bot lane. So he can 1v1 the jungler, but now that top lane pressure finally being translated into the Rift Herald, which is just gonna send Bruiser so much farther ahead. This guy can group, and Solemn and Easy are just trading back and forth blow for blow right now.
Big shockwave, though. Easy has to rush towards that tower and flash out at the last moment to get to safety. Solemn doing a good job trying to control the pace early. I will say the Veigar, with the scaling that they have, is doing great in this raw 1v1 without a whole lot of jungle interference either way.
He's going for the double scaling build, right? The tier and the Roa. So once, if he can get to that item breakpoint, Denali, though, covering mid lane here might pay for the life. They're actually opting to send the Rift Herald mid lane. Solemn saying, hey, brother, give me some of that gold. Bruiser doesn't need any more right now. And he will gladly take these plates. Really nice. I like that play, kind of spreading your eggs across, right? Not putting everything in the Bruiser basket here. He's firmly ahead, and I think giving some of that gold over to Oriana kind of lets her participate in a lot of these team fights.
Yep. No, I think it's the correct call, you know? There's an argument that Bruiser really doesn't want this first tower to go down really early on.
Yeah.
Because Zyka is going to be so safe there, absorbing waves under the tier 2 tower. And Bruiser now, especially with the rest of the map still in the dark for first class, can't really get unlocked and go across the map to side lane, say, bot side just yet. So might as well hold the Alawi here, get a few more solo kills under your belt. I understand they're worth less and less each time, but across the board, as this champion continues to rush deeper towards their items and now has also established a fantastic CS lead, this seems like the right call. And with this Divine Sunder, there just isn't a contingency plan for New World Esports to do anything. It's going to be up to Denali the King to try to make a play either mid or bot. And given the fact that Solemn now has a bit more gold over the Veigar in the form of having some of those plates given to them from the Rift Herald, I think that first class is making all the right macro calls.
Yeah, Bruiser right now, he's going to want to shove out this top lane here, walk down to this upcoming dragon if they want to contest it, and has the TP back up. I think that'll be really smart for them because Zayak, unfortunately, just won't be able to participate in that fight. He will lose way too much. He's so hard down in CS. He needs the turret plates. You're going to force the issue right now. I think First Class has a very, very solid grasp at contesting this next dragon, denying the stacking, getting their own stacking going, using this Jax power and spreading it across the board. This is where teams look to falter at this level, right? At the platinum level, you can get really high mechanically gifted players, but they just don't know how to transfer the lead over. As the dive is coming into the bot lane, let's see, will Bruiser TP to the lane to kind of cover here?
They will, in fact, activate that TP, get down here. Mental Boomer has to flash away to not get stunned up by the Zillion. And I think that plus their ultimate will be enough for them to get back towards safety. But as you called, Bruiser does, in fact, use that summoner spell, is here, but does want to back try to absorb the pressure top side of the map. So I don't think they're actually going to pay a visit to the dragon. They just need to get back top.
Yeah, you see Truist covering that topside lane right now. Interesting call. Solemn had the TP available. I feel like regardless of who TP's in there, you're safe. Bruiser, though, first on the draw here. Maybe Solemn wants to save it for potentially backing off of this item lead that he has right now. Can pick up the Mythic and then TP back in for this dragon. Nobody's really forcing the issue, it seems like, for this Chemtech dragon here. Both teams playing a little bit apprehensively here. I think First Class, though, they definitely have the advantage with this top side and mid here. They can look to push the issue, but they are getting pushed in right now. Their bot lane not in any position because of the resources that were burned. Looks like King is just gonna start it himself with the Bork in hand.
It looks like First Class is going to respond, but it will not be with Bruiser. It's going to be these four other members of Red Squad that want to try to collapse here into the river. Easy, going the wrong way, hit by the Shockwave. Denali tries to push forward, has the baby cage to lock up these champions, but is already taken low. Truist holding on, even in the face of the damage from the Vayne, gets healed up, but Polymorph back does mean that a kill flows over to Blue Squad's side. However, you look top, you look at the jungle, and you look mid. First Class has still come out on top of that trade.
They're coming out with turret plates. They're coming out with the kills. Trist also got, I believe, 1 or 2 turret plates to herself here. Peace Pipe just living his own dream right now. He's like, you know what? I'm unbothered by this mid river fight here. I'm just gonna pick up plates. I'm gonna just destroy turrets here. Yeah, they give the dragon over. They lose 1 for 1 in the trade in that bottom lane fight here. But Bruiser solo kills Zayak once again. Almost about to get that first turret gold here. Like you said, the argument can be made to keep her in lane, but at this point in 06, I think she's worth maybe 50 gold.
Yep. It's a rough situation for sure. Bruiser is just unstoppably strong at this point in time. And First Class, by the way, Shibby, won that fight without the Jax being there. That's the real thing to strike heart into the fear of NWA at this point in time. There's clearly no space on the map that is safe from the Wrath of Red team. And given that we're pushing closer towards that second Shelly, or pushing closer to these towers going down, and everybody being a little bit more fluid about where they can go on the map, I think that NWE's chance at really trying to put this game away through their early plays has completely evaporated.
Denali looking to get a gank here. 3v2 has snuck into the bush here. Now the gank pursues Peptic, though. Just gonna walk it out.
Yeah, that W from the Viego not quite going to land, as at this point, I'm not even going to play-by-play the Alawi dying. This is the 7th time they're sent back to the fountain, and I think that there's just nothing flashy to be said about the fact that Zyke is just running over and over down this lane and dying either to Truist or Bruiser, honestly. Why not spread the wealth around a little bit?
Well, what are the cyberbullying rules for Blue Otter League, Yarko? Because if this happens a couple more times, I feel like it constitutes some sort of rule book being thrown. Like 07 right now. They are not giving this man any room to breathe. The second Herald on the menu. Jax dutifully pushing that top side here. And Peptic and Pipe are just handling the pressure so well, given that they are getting 3-manned and 4-manned constantly.
And Solemn mid lane is no slouch either. The damage put to that turret early means that the gold flowed over, plus a kill from that bot river fight. So they're able to pretty heavily shove out these waves, help Truist wherever they are needed, and it looks like it's going to be at this Rift Herald. Just no response from NWE. They just have to try to farm up, but this gold lead's starting to get out of hand at the 16-minute Shibby. I don't really know what the angle is. NWE probably just has to focus on getting Boogie pretty fed, but really, it's hard for the Vayne to do a whole lot in a 2v2 because Mental Boomer is on Lulu, which is great if you have fed carries, but right now, all of the carries on First Class's side.
This is where we're gonna see whether First Class is a legit contender in BOL or just another one of those lane dominant teams. We're at the 17-minute mark. They've amassed themselves a nice gold lead, but now they have to transition into this mid game. You've got strong pieces, but if you overcommit, if you overint, if you go a little too aggressive, Boogie, Easy, and Denali all have very scary ways of coming back into this game. The last thing you want to do is start trading kills against a scaling composition. That's exactly what they're looking for. That's exactly what they're hoping for right now. They need the proper objective setup. They need the proper, I would say, heal on the aggression before they can really start to end this game out, right? You don't want to drag it on too long, but you don't want to make too many mistakes here. This is where I think First Class, this is going to what's make or break this team right now. The objective setup on the Hextech Dragon coming up. Baron's up in 2 minutes. You've got the team fight ready as Truist walking into this jungle 1v4 right now. Just going to roll on out.
Yeah, they're able to pretty easily just get out of there with a lot of backup from Solemn being a big kind of thorn in the side of NWE to try to answer back some of those revenge kills you're talking about, Jimmy. Right now, the clear power share, even in the jungle, is over to Truist. This is given the fact that Denali did get 2 kills early. It just doesn't really matter, unfortunately. And now the Rift Herald is going to charge down into that mid lane. Maybe not even necessary, because that charge doesn't get a whole lot of damage onto the tower. And now with the rotation back over from Denali the King, they're going to be able to take this down pretty quickly. However, this has bought priority for First Class to walk towards that river first. And now, at the 3rd dragon, try to stop the stacking.
A big chunk of this gold lead on First Class is off of their solo lanes, right? Jax 7,600 to 5,000, Oriana 73 to 57, right? That's where the gold lead lies. Jungle and ADC are practically even, if not slightly ahead at certain points here. So I think we have the win condition set. We have Boogie in this bot lane dutifully farming up. Rush the shield bow here, doesn't want to get bursted out. It's going to be up to First Class's Jax and Oriana to kind of start setting the tempo of this game and really start pushing the issue for this team, to put them in a position to say, hey, we're going to end this game at 25 minutes. Baron's up in 20. We want to start pressuring it. You guys can't do anything about it, because if you walk in, Jax is going to split push you. He's going to TP flank, and then the game is completely over. As now, this is where the Dream Engage starts.
Shirelia's popped, and Mental Boomer just gets hit by the Rammus, by Solemn as well on the Simulacrum, and it's just absolute agony for NW to try to find any space on the map. The tower score is 3-0. All the tier 1s are gone, and we've in the past seen how powerful that is at all levels of play. Here, it means that First Class does in fact have control over both rivers. They can look for a Baron on spawn like you're talking about, Shibby, and this truly is a dream scenario. I think that this is going to be a pretty quick game in favor of Red Team, unless they make a huge mistake, and that definitely is possible. We saw that early on in the bot lane, but really with Bruiser freed up on the map, it is going to have to be a full-on 4-man into down mid lane or something for First Class to truly lose the lead in priority that they've gotten for themselves.
Yeah, they just have to be really indecisive around this Baron. I think that's what's going to be the death of them, right? If they try to tank Baron and take the fight, and they tank a little too long, Vigar and Boogie get in, that's where you can kind of see these colossal mistakes. You've got to be decisive. Burn the Baron or bait for the fight, one or the other. You cannot have your cake and eat it here, really, Nyarko, as Bruiser just pushing that top lane here. And this is the Dream Engage right now. Once again, Zillion and Rammus have buddied up. The E is ready. The Shirelias is going to be popped once again. And there's very little counterplay, it seems, at the moment. If you don't know it's coming, you're just going to get absolutely bursted out. This is a very deadly engage. Yeah, it's very one-dimensional, but damn, is it a good dimension.
That being said, NWE is doing a good job trying to control vision to a degree. They understand that this jungle really isn't theirs anymore, and because of that fact, whenever Mental Boomer sees there to be space, they immediately try to go and drop some vision. And now, bot side of the map, Solemn is actually overextended quite a bit, tries to flash away, but there's just nowhere for this champion to go. They're gonna shockwave down, and that might buy the space necessary for them to get out. But it was a risky maneuver here to use that summoner spell, but they are leading Blue Squad on a wild goose chase. Now, I don't think that they care if the robot dies, right? First Class is rushing the Baron down, and only the Alawi knows that this is happening. They're gonna walk up into pit, but we've already seen what they can do in a 1v1 and a 4v1. This is basically just suicide for Zayak. They will in fact jump forward and try to ult. Denali and Easy have rotated up. Baron's going low. Apparently no smite is available for Red Squad. Eventually the Tristana is going to confirm it. Denali has gotten into the pit, has stolen away the body of Bruiser, who has fallen, and now it may be Blue Squad on the cleanup crew. Zillion forced to ult themselves, so that just means that they get to kill him a second time. And First Class, in fact, does waffle like you talk about, Shibby. They were pulled away and distracted by Zayak. And hey, now a little bit of gold is flowing back over to NWE. There are a few members with the Baron buff you have to watch out for, though.
I've been around in enough platinum leagues to know that the Baron fumble is an elite play from any squad here. They were indecisive. Half the team went on to Zayak, half the team stayed on Baron. Truist didn't even have a smite available right now as he's looking to aggress onto this 2v1. That was absolutely a disaster, Baron from First Class. I think only one member ended up surviving with it.
Yeah, only Truist
here. Yeah, so the gold evening up, and crucially, Denali just picking up 2 kills. Boogie picked up a kill as well on that bot side. the right carries are picking up kills on the side of New World Esports. It doesn't matter if Zayak is 0-7, as long as he can play distraction, throw the pocket sand out in a little bit here, the rest of New World is gonna clean up. You saw what happened when they get low enough. Denali is just running through the team.
Yeah, this is definitely a little bit of a hope for NWE, but I don't think that this is damning at all for First Class. It was a little bit of an awkward engage. They didn't really turn and fight at the correct time. The call to continue to try to take down the Baron when Truist didn't have Smite was massively confusing as well. They're lucky that they picked a big purple worm up off the back of Peace Pipe, but I do think that this is still not a situation where NWE all of a sudden can walk up and try to 5v5 round something like this dragon that's spawning up soon. In fact, Denali might be in a little bit of trouble as Truist is on a warpath, does get condemned back though, and NWE will keep their wits about them. However, it might be a little bit difficult for them to keep this dragon stacking about them.
Yeah, this is the fish in the barrel situation. Truist has to be mindful right now. Gets the plant over the wall. Dragon being started here. Smite is available this time, but Denali might have something to say about it. The mist comes out and everybody scatters. Nyarko, this is looking a little dicey right now for both of these squads.
A few members of Red Squad have already been taken to about half health, but a lot of engaged potential is still very viable on First Class's side. However, the baby cage is massive. That sets up Truist for long enough for the Dragon to be taken down by Blue Squad. However, immediately the ult into the pit from the Rammus is going to get the revenge kill onto the enemy jungler, and now Boogie isolated from the rest of the team. Easy being forced down through the tri-bush. This is now just cleanup crew time for First Class, and wow, that was a great answer for the neutral objective. Unfortunately, New World Esports overextend and they lose basically everyone.
They pay in blood for this dragon. An absolutely clean ace coming out from First Class here. They said, you know what? If you want the dragon, you're going to have to pay a lot here. The consequences are dire. Bottom lane tier 2 going down. Definitely tier 3 is on the menu here. They've got a fat minion wave. Casters and the cannon is going to go down right now, but I think they're going to play it safe. They're going to back off. They don't want to give Denali any more room to work with. Bottom lane tier 3 down here. The next Baron up in about 2.5 minutes. I mean, that was just textbook cleanup from First Class here.
Yep.
Using that over aggression, forcing the carries back. I think Bruiser literally was 1v3ing for half of that fight.
Bruiser 1v3ing, Truist 2v1ing inside of the pit as well. And it's really kind of the Uno reverse card of what we saw around the Baron Shibby, which is unfortunate for New World Esports. They don't need turnarounds going back in favor of First Class right now. But yeah, they get the objective this time, but they lose their entire team for doing so. Truist topside is kind of caught in a 2v1. Make that a 4v1. They try to just ult over the pit wall. Can't quite do it, and shutdown flows over to Vagar, who may be the man you want on campus right now.
Truist is just doing the 500 IQ play, Nyarko. Zayak got an assist here, has reset the gold. Bruiser understanding, you know what? You are worth some money now. Let me put you back in the dirt. But Bruiser, no respect at all, just eating tentacle after tentacle. Wait a minute. That's a one-item Illaoi beating what? A Divine Thunder or Black Cleaver plus BF Sword here? This Jax, absolutely no respect. Will have to kind of walk back out of there. I think he was kind of surprised at that damage.
Yeah, I don't think that was actually Zyke winning a 1v1 as much as it was Bruiser not considering it a 1v1 whatsoever. And so they just kind of stand inside of the full ability rotation of the Illaoi. So they've learned their lesson. They can't do that again. They have to understand that the Illaoi will hurt if they get the prerequisite 20 seconds of, you know, unadulterated CC and attacks necessary to get down the Jax's health bar. So, you know, peaks and valleys. First Class doing a really good job still, though, pushing their advantage for the time being. We're only seeing one tower on the board for New World Esports, Orion. And so while we did see a huge hero play come out around that Baron Nashor, unfortunately, into time since they've got fully aced, more gold has gone over to First Class. And I think that the second attempt at this top side neutral objective is just going to be even stronger for Red Team.
It's going to be interesting to see if Easy can get this Rabadon's death cap before the Sparran spawns up, right? If he can get down there with the gold ready, he definitely wants to complete that big item power spike, because it can be really, really dangerous if you're hobbled up in a Baron pit, the event horizon come down, you're fish in a barrel, and Vayne is just firing away at you. She's got the Bork, she's got the Immortal Shield Bow, so she can look to skirmish. It's just, can she shred through Bruiser, through Truist, who has now completed 3 armor items. The Jack Show, the Thornmail, and the Sunfire Cape is ready. That is a nightmare for Vayne, as the Spear of Shojin is also completed on Bruiser, who's just going to make him that much more deadly in these team fights. I'm really looking to Easy to be the star of this team fight. His Event Horizon is going to have to be absolutely on point.
Yeah, it's really kind of a matter of, sure, NWE is finding themselves hitting a few power spikes, but I don't know if it's enough to tear through the 5,000 gold deficit that they're currently sitting in. First Class is immensely powerful, and now Bruiser, once again freed up into a side lane, understands that they gotta respect the Alawi, but not as much as you would think, right? Just standing there inside of the ult, 3 tentacles smacking away, and they're only taking to about half health off of that solo bolo, with 1 champion gone off the map. New World Esports now really just have to play so aware of the fact that First Class can go for Baron, although they want to kill Boogie first. Here comes Denali the King trying to round the corner, but they find themselves face to face with the crime scene as Boogie is murdered right in front of their eyes. Mental Boomer going to follow. We talked about needing Easy here. They were just AFK mid, unfortunately. Finally, the Primordial Burst will get one in this fight, but it might be too late. Truist is going to push down onto the Tier 2 tower with the accompaniment of their mid and support. And now, when you look at bot lane and combination with what's going on here, this play has gone all in favor of First Class once again.
Bruiser completely ignoring the map, saying, I'm just going to take the inhib here. We can turn to Baron. Unfortunate that Peace Pipe kind of got R-buttoned by the Easy Vigar here. They can't really turn towards the Baron at the very moment. Dragon is up. It looks like Bruiser and the rest of First Class are going to look to take that. No option for stealing here as Denali is looking to clear wards out, maybe get some vision down onto this Baron pit. The lesser of two evils, right? You give the dragon away, you said, all right, you know what? We can't get the soul here, but maybe we can get some vision down, look to turn these Baron fights. But it looks like First Class, they learned their lesson. They said, you know what? Even if there's one person down, we got to go for Boogie. We have to go for Mental Boom. We have to clean up this team before we can really safely do the Baron here. Extending the game out to 30 minutes. We're hitting that late game point, but like you said, there's just not enough bite in Orion's team comp to go through everything that First Class is throwing.
If you put these two teams into like a flat ground scenario, you know, no vision to have to play off of, no walls, nothing pesky, I think that NWE has a chance in a raw 5v5, especially if they're able to interrupt some of the engage from First Class. The issue is, this is Summoner's Rift. It's a very confusing map, and with all of the nooks and crannies that this team can sit in, NWE finds it difficult to move up towards that topside river and really contest something like a Baron take. And even though they establish some vision, immediately we see the rotation back after FC got that dragon. They just walk up here, Peptic clears everything out, and yet again, NWE just has to play a very uncomfortable dance. Denali the King trying to just sit there inside of that bush. Look at how fast these champions are with the Shurelias. Peace Pipe jumping forward. Mental Boober caught down the wrong choke point. Unfortunately, Denali the King is able to get out with their Heartbreaker, but their heart is broken because they see that Lulu has been taken out, and now this is a pretty free Baron call.
They were on the other side of the wall, and somehow First Class caught up, right? The Shurelias, the double zillion E. You just see Bruiser coming in, Mach speed with the Counter-Strike. It's got to be the most menacing thing available right now. I'm pretty sure, Nyarko, we're going to see some trauma bans coming out game 2. The Zillion off the table, Rammus off the table here. They don't want anything to do with this anymore. First Class, though, take the Baron undisturbed, bottom lane pushing in. They're just going to go for a standard 1-4, I'm going to presume. Bruiser in the top lane, the rest in the mid lane. The Siege is there with the Tristana as well. There is really nothing New World can do unless First Class just kind of grossly misstep and do tower dive as Easy. Should be able to walk it out.
Yeah, they will have the cage necessary to walk it out to safety. Truist is just a complete psychopath, thinking that they're able to just withstand the Vagar damage, but clearly it's paying off. They understand their limits. Easy just had to book it on out of there, get back to this tier 3 tower that's getting besieged right now by 4 separate members of Red Squad, as it's actually going to be Rammus on split pushing duty topside.
Yeah, Chus is like, you know what? Can I just get some minions? I need some gold here. I'm sitting on a Negatron cloak and a ruby crystal here. Bruiser gladly just kind of grouping right now, understands that maybe, hey, if we get engaged on, if we get ingressed on, it's better to have the strongest member of the team with these guys, maybe than keeping Truist here. Now, there's the window.
Yeah, Peace Pipe a little bit too far forward there, gets chain CC'd. Peptic fires off their ultimate, but now New World Esports are getting aggressed on topside as well, as Bruiser has in fact decided that the side lane is their home and they want to evict Zayak from it. They go back to the fountain. That's one core pick, and now with Denali the King going low and Bruiser on a warpath with the full health bar. Now we might be seeing First Class just ending the game outright. Mental Boomer also has to flash away, trying to get back towards the fountain, get some health before one final engagement can come through, as now First Class are going to find themselves the third inhibitor and look to move these Baron up minions towards these last two towers.
Yeah, triple inhibs, the double supers across the lanes here. Bruiser going unstoppable, 10-1 on the Jax. First Class taking the safe route here. They've got the triple inhib. They're gonna go back, cash the gold that they've got here, and look for this final game-ending push here. It seems like New World Esports, their time has come. I don't think they've got much longer in this rift.
10,000 gold lead for First Class, I think, is going to do away with any of the possible scaling advantages that NWE has, as long as we don't see First Class turbo griefing it, which is completely possible. It's a plat league after all. I mean, I've seen enough solo queue games at around this elo to know that griefing is probably their second favorite hobby beyond putting racial slurs into all chat. So, you know, fun times all around.
Bit of a call out there on the all platinum
smokes.
players.
How the truest. They're just going halfway across the map in like 10 seconds, maybe a little bit too deep because the speed is in there for the other members, but they don't really care. Now First Class is behind the Rammus, trying to run down these champions. They can't quite find a pick, but this really is showing the potential for First Class to just kind of kill whoever they want. If they pinpoint a point on the map, they can send the Rammus to it in an instant, no teleport needed. That is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disgusting how fast Truist is going, right? With the Shurelias, with the Ether, breaking literally the sound barriers. Now, the third dragon is upon us. They don't want any Hex Tech Soul shenanigans here. They're going to stack this dragon, and I feel like they could end. They're just kind of playing with their food. First Class, going for maybe the Mental Boom diff right now, extending the game, making it so that First Class or New World Order has to play this game out just a little bit longer, looking to kind of maybe win that war of attrition here. First Class, though, yeah, they're barreling down. They're ready. They're getting prepped. Bot lane inhib. I don't think they'll need to siege it here. They've got supers coming in top and bot, or top and mid. They have that huge 10,000 gold lead here. Solemn though, is he just gonna 1v1 King? Oh yeah.
I mean, this is a Giga Chad move by the Oriana. They're sitting on a warden, it just doesn't matter. Call that a bait, baby. Denali, the King, is already taking a half health. Alawi trying to find a way to save their jungler, but I think that they may have just doomed their whole team, as Peace Pipe is gonna claim that kill. And now First Class, with impunity, can finally shove down the bot side of the map. They want all the inhibitors before this game ends, Shibby. So we're gonna see this taken out, and we are going to see New World Esports try desperately to save these two dying towers, as this is their lifeline. If they can hold on maybe for another 5-10 minutes, you can find scaling, but it looks like First Class want to end it right here, right now. The siege is beginning. Bruiser going low, but he's tapping down these towers like they're made out of paper mache, and now the Nexus is going to follow as well. New World Esports are crushed under the heel of First Class.
36.5 minutes, an absolutely dominating performance, ticking all the boxes, right? Extending the game 10 minutes, getting all the towers, getting all the inhibs, the dragons, everything nice and knotted up here. First Class, I mean, they just from top to bottom kind of dominated this game here. I think it really just started with the jungle top, right? Bruiser and Truist showing why they are some of the scariest duos in the league.
Yeah, you're saying top to bottom here, but Shibby, early on, it was kind of just top to top and then top again, because Truist really had nowhere else to gank. It didn't really have to gank anywhere else. Zayak at 0-11-1 to end the game. I was just joking with Pop-Tart, our wonderful producer, by the way. Totally check out all their stuff on Twitter, etc., etc. But I was just joking before about how I just opened up the client and I saw that this Lissandra that I kind of rage reported for going like 1 in 15 got banned in one of my solo queue games. games. Now I'm kind of worried. You were talking about, hey, is cyberbullying not allowed in the BOL? I'm worried. Is griefing it not allowed in custom games? Because they may need to look at the Riot TOSs here. They got to find some new kind of pivot and look up topside.
Yeah, I think prioritizing the Viego, leaving the Jax up. I mean, there's a lot of kind of issues you can pinpoint here. I mean, you saw it. The moment the Viego locked in, R1, R2, Jax Rammus, right? They got what they wanted. First Class simply was like, all right, if you're going to leave this up, I'm simply just going to take all the most busted champions in the game here. It looks like New World had some game plan coming in. They kind of got the champions they wanted. Just the execution threshold is just a little too high here, right? Simplicity wins in Platinum leagues. Simplicity wins across a lot of leagues, even at the pro level, right? If you can execute a simple comp to its best performance, it's going to always outperform these kind of knife's edge, kind of high variability compositions that you see drafted here. The Vigar the Vayne super long scaling takes too much time to kind of come online. And when you're this far down in gold, it doesn't matter if you've got scaling options. You just have to face the fact that there's a Jax, an Oriana, a Tristana, all banging on the front door, and you just can't do anything about it. I definitely think New World kind of needs to go back to the drawing board, maybe prioritize a couple different champions here, look towards the meta, look what's really strong, and just kind of play your own game. Don't really try to get too cute.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to stand by the statement that I made during the initial draft here, Shibby, and say, I frankly think that New World Esports had the better draft at the end of the day, or at least given the way that pick order worked, they had the potential to produce a much better draft than First Class. The issue is they clearly had the thought process of, hey, we're just going to win these individual lanes, we're going to get late, and we're just going to smash people. That just was not the case. They underestimated some of these players on First Class's side, and because of that, as you said, trauma ban's most likely going to come through. We're going to be seeing a big adjustment from Blue Squad, and hopefully we'll get a bit more competitive of a game number 2. For right now, though, we got to throw it to a quick break. We got to get into the next lobby. We will see you all there.
Lights of paradise, every touch I synthesize. be alright. I can pretend, but it's not right. Small town, big dreams. Don't you know nothing comes easy? Bring it right back to the kids we used to be. A teardrop in the ocean when everybody told us no. They were better off alone. Back then we were focused, so much riding on the line. Tell me that we still got time. I'm not innocent, more like a boomerang. I'm sure you'll find your way back, find your way back, yeah. Rebound, ricochet, come back right to me.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division as we now stand for the second draft of the night between First Class and NWE Orion. First Class putting on a titular First Class performance here versus Orion, really taking them to task, especially in that top lane. Bruiser 2012, absolutely disgusting performance on a Jax early. We saw the Alawi come through as a counter pick, trying to answer back, but now apparently Orion says best counter pick is not putting Zayak onto that champion, rather it's just taking Jax off the board entirely as it is banned out here. Seeing just a slight amount of variation from both teams. A lot of the same picks, though, from First Class, knocked out with that Varus and LeBlanc in particular. And Orion going to kind of clog up their ban pool with the Rakan and Xayah yet again, which I still am not 100% sure about.
Yeah, I think, like you said, you just ban one or the other. I prefer banning the Xayah away. I think Rakan,
Agreed.
as impactful as he is, there are pretty solid support counters. I think Xayah is just way too safe in lane, has an insane power spike, right, with a Navori plus whatever she builds. But First Class, gonna be prioring the Orion. They said, if it worked once, so we'll just do it again here. Orion, though, a bevy of options, R1 and R2 here. Like you said, Caitlyn very strong in the meta game right now. I think in terms of top lane, you still have things like the Cassante, who has received some nerfs here. You also have things like the Gangplank, who somehow has skipped banning phase completely. Like I'm surprised this champion is not being rotated with how busted it is, but they're gonna take the Oriana Victor matchup to match mid lane for mid lane here. No secrets at all. What are they going to R2, though, here? Are they going to take the support? Are they going to take one of the busted ADCs? I feel like as First Class, they'll just rotate, jungle plus support or jungle plus AD here. I think their support champion pool is completely unscathed. If you're willing to bust out the Zillion in game one, I have full confidence you've got a champion Ocean to pick from.
Yeah, you're in the trenches if you're willing to go for Zillion with basically no other support bans on the board, right? Like, you have clearly experienced some trauma in solo queue, my friend. Orion gonna go for the Jinx, though. And at this point, I really don't understand these drafts. I just came off of doing NACL qualifiers over the weekend, and there we were seeing Red Squad saving their top for the last pick. We saw Varus, Caitlyn every freaking game. Here, I'm a little bit more confused. They're just kind of picking wherever they want, I feel, should be.
Hey, Varus is banned, man. Give him some credit here. Caitlyn has a lot of long range, but it's not as fun to play, right? Jinx blows stuff up. You get resets. It's all about the dopamine in Blue Otter, man. And that's really what New World is going for as the Oriana gets rotated with the Sivir. Some nice wave clear. First Class doing their due diligence. I like the fact that your option is just to shove the Jinx in and make her life a living hell. Are they going to pair it up with an engage option, kind of get that Sivir utility going, or are they going to pick it up with more of a enchanter support here and kind of just turn the Sivir into an absolute shred monster? They're going to go for the Lulu here. I don't hate it, but now top and jungle have to draft some engage. I said it once, I'll say it again. If they pigeonhole themselves into one engage option, Zillion Rammus, definitely very good, definitely a very good dimension. But now they've kind of got to get something else on the board here as the Camille gets rotated. They heard you, Niarco. They said, all right, we'll pick something pretty good. Camille being taken in the top lane.
And now Orion is kind of at an impasse regarding the way that they want to ban here. I think that they have to get the Rammus off the table, not gonna lie. The fact that we haven't seen the jungler come through for First Class yet, and the fact that Truist just slaughtered Denali the King, even after the Viego got 2 kills bot side of the map, makes me very, very worried for Orion's chances if they don't take the Armadillo out of contention here. First Class, though, a little bit of a pivot. They themselves want to ban a jungler, and they're going to go for the Kindred of all things.
I like this. Just take the jungler pool out. Don't give Denali anything to work with. They might take the Viego away. Udyr, crucially, is still up here. Was rotated in the bans the first time around in game one here. So if they leave that champion up, Niarco, one thing you gotta know about me, I love that champion. I love every iteration of Udyr. I loved it when we were in the Udyr Hekari meta. I love it now. I just think it's a super fun champion. You just rotate abilities, you press a bunch of buttons, and you get a lot of value. First Class, though, looks like they're getting their top lane target champion pool banned here. So far, Jax, Darius, Mordekaiser are being taken away. I don't think that's gonna stop First Class, though. I think there wasn't a champion problem in that game. It was simply just, overextending, not warding for ganks, and simply just taking bad trades on the side of Orion here that kind of just lost them the lane. You ban any champion, I think it's done here. Sejuani being taken away. Still very strong in the jungle, has missed the Riot nerf bat. Maokai kind of absorbed all of the tank jungle changes. So I think that's fine here. Orion, though, have a really good opportunity to rotate Udyr and really kind of mess with First Class's composition here. I want to see if they'll take it.
Yeah, you're really praying for that Udyr, and I think it's a really good pick because I don't know if Mental Boomer plays the Zillion, but they could turn them into a mental zoomer, really accelerate that champion, get them running forward, kind of like we saw with First Class's Rammus. But no, it is going to be the Nautilus support picked up here first, and that is going to reserve counterpick potential for Denali the King.
Yeah, something we've been seeing a lot in C-LOL where I've been casting, right? It's the Karma Udyr being rotated. That is an absolutely disgusting composition. You have a lot of move speed. You've got a lot of utility here, but the Renekton being taken into Camille, I like something a little bit more aggressive for himself, right? Has the ability to outplay with the shield, right? The shield break on the Rennie can really look to kind of, if he's just stomping lane like he was in game one, this Renekton's gonna put in work, right? This Camille, if he falls behind, it can become really volatile. You really can't do anything once Rennie gets ahead. He can pop the Dominus, start just tower diving you solo underneath. But First Class, they're gonna have to get their jungler in. Who are they gonna take here? Are they gonna go for hard engage? Are they gonna go for something a little bit more utility focused? Vi being picked up. I like this top lane combination. Rennie, Vi, super strong. I don't think he is gonna have a good time here.
Yeah, I don't think that Zayak has really a lot of options on this Camille to get ahead early. Now that the Renekton come out. Orion with a very interesting pivot here for Denali going towards the Nocturne. But I do want to focus back on what you were saying, Shibby, with the Vi Renekton combo. I think that the major issue is that Orion keeps giving Bruiser champions that literally are tied to their name. They're called Bruiser 2012, and they're being given champions that are really old, seem like they came out in 2012, and they're Bruisers as well. Clearly, we have a name gap going on right here, as we can't even figure out how to say Zayak's name properly.
Well, you see, they're just going to throw 5 bans next time if they make it to game 3 over to Bruiser here. I think it's super deadly. You don't have to worry about bot lane. It's Sivir Lulu, probably one of the safest lanes I've seen, right?
Yep.
You're not going to really have any chance to dive it. You pick Nocturne. What does Nocturne really need to do, right? Hit level 6, farm. Not really going to be a relevant champion until that level 6 gets ticked off here. So Sivir Lulu can just kind of push with impunity, not really worry about it. And Oriana Victor is just a handshake lane. So it's going to be up to Renekton Vi to start, snowballing their side of the map here. Camille not going to have a fun time. I feel like the Nocturne pick, in theory, works very, very well, but you need the lane prowess. You need the laners in your team to kind of pick up that slack so that you can farm. You can be, inactive here. But the meta we're in, Niarco, you know it just as well as I do. We're in a very proactive jungle meta at the moment. It doesn't lend itself to these kind of herbivore-style junglers.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this is a very odd last pick for Orion. I don't think it's necessarily directly responding to the vibe, but then as you're kind of insinuating here, Shibby, what is it responding to? Who are you really jumping on that is going to be heavily pressured by this champion? Sivir has Spell Shield, right? So your initial engage is a little bit more awkward. Lulu could just polymorph you as soon as you are in. That's another dynamic to watch out for. If you're throwing yourself bodily at a Renekton, you've probably already lost the game. And Oriana, Victor are just going to kind of handshake early. And honestly, Solemn did a really good job in the isolated 1v1. I wouldn't be surprised if it is the case that maybe this time around, Truist does try to get this champion a little bit ahead of the Victor that will definitely outscale. And because that's the case, now Nocturne isn't just going to be able to ult the robot for free.
Yeah, I think Orion's team composition kind of hinges on the fact of this Camille Nocturne. Similar to like Camille Galio, where you press R on one champion.
Yeah.
If first class is splitting, right? If this Renekton is getting a little too cocky here and kind of splits, without any support, that's where Nocturne really shines, shadowing your solo laners, keeping the effect that, hey, if you step forward, we're just going to dump everything in the kitchen sink at you, right? Oriana, low mobility. You mentioned as long as both of these two champions are in conjunction, engaging onto the right target, you could easily blow them up. You've got a pseudo dive with the Camille Nocturne. Nautilus has the follow-up here, and you've got a lot of long-range kind of follow-up with Jinx Rockets, with the Victor lasers. You've got a lot of potential here for Orion. It's, again, one of those situations where can you execute? Whereas first class, it's pretty easy. You press R on Vi, you press R on Oriana, and then after that, you press R on Sivir, and the rest of the team's coming in. First class, simplicity is key here, and I think they really understood that. They have a very easy and simple win condition, whereas Orion, they're gonna have to work for it a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I think that once again, Orion are kind of egoing in a spot where they really can't ego draft, Shibby. And you talked about the fact that this is going to be a composition reliant on Nocturne Camille. I don't think that you could draft a single composition that relies on Zayak right now. No flame to them, but clearly Bruiser is in a class of their own when it comes to top laners. 0-11 on Alawi is just not really forgivable, right? They had zero utility in that last game. They got 1 assist, 1 KP the entirety of that 30-minute round, 40-minute round, and to me, that just does not speak to someone who's having a good day on the Rift. This does not speak to someone that you can rely on to really hinge your composition around.
Orion has faith, and I respect that, right? I look, hey, like if that's their carry option, if they want to give this guy another chance, they say, hey, we'll draft you the Camille, we'll not isolate you in this lane against Renekton, we'll try to draft some support for you here so that Nocturne can maybe pay a little bit more attention. I'm all in on that, right? I believe in redemption. I believe in second chances, Niarco. Fool me once, maybe shame on me. Fool me twice, then it's shame on you. I don't think you just completely abandon your player. I think that can do a lot of damage, specifically in the mental game here. If you give him something that he can carry on, you don't just relegate him to tank duty. And if he performs, then that's where somewhere like first class can potentially have to look and say, wait a minute, we can't just kind of like pick anything into them. We have to respect this team. I think Orion, if they do win this game, if they do start coming back into this match, it's gonna be off the back of this Camille Nocturne combo, and I'm all for it, right? Let me see the redemption arc come into fruition for New World Esports here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll make me eat humble pie. I would love to see the Zayak redemption arc here versus Bruiser. And hey, given the fact that they're on the Renekton on Blue Squad's side, this is clearly a lane that we're probably going to see a lot of action in early. So this really is the time for Orion to shape up. They do have the chance to be forgiven for their past sins, given that this is a best of 3. They could take us to a match decider here. But for right now, Shibby, we got to get on the Rift for the second game. We're going to throw it to a quick break, guys. But when we return, it's going to be for the second round of the Blue Otter League Platinum Division match between First Class and NWE Orion.
Especially when I'm losing, 'cause every time I look away, I only have one thing to say. I gotta do my own thing. it ain't right, yeah. If it ain't right, I gotta do my own thing.
You got scars deep enough to last. Heart full of broken glass, and I'm gonna paint it black. Oh, I got bruises I covered up. I've been used every time I loved. Nothing to lose when the devil comes. Oh, turn out the lights, we can turn them out, 'cause turn out the lights, we can burn them out, 'cause I know what's waiting, I know what it's made of, what it's made of. Come and take me closer to the edge now, if you think you can love me. 'Cause show me how to get down, if you're gonna touch me. I'm not afraid of the dark.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. As we got a very interesting opening strategy from New World Esports, which is show all 5 people walking mid for some reason. Regardless, we'll see. They're clearly trying to posture aggressively. They have Mental Boomer on the Nautilus, so I don't think First Class can do a whole lot to walk up and try to punish this aggression. We'll have to see as across the board. NWE needs to show this level of commitment to action, I think, to get ahead of First Class, who dominated them in game number 1. I like to see they're still confident here. The problem is sometimes confidence can be their downfall. Let's see what's going to happen as we're getting a bit of an invade topside from First Class themselves. Truist and Bruiser sitting there on a push. Oh no, and Denali the King is walking up, thinking they can start the red buff in peace.
None the wiser here, Truist.
Oh, right into the spin. Denali the King wiggling back and forth a little bit like, how bad is this? Eventually decided to flash away through that Krug pit. And that is a crucial summoner spell burnt early. We already talked about the need for this Nocturne to really kind of do nothing but scale up through the first few clears. But now that is even doubly so. It's going to be so hard for them to exhibit kill pressure.
Yeah, I do believe we have a bit of a pause bug here on our end. I think the team's paused and it'll eventually get going here. But yeah, like you said, they burned the flash, but Truist actually loses out on the jungle start. Going to start late, no leash as well. Donley going to get a little bit more time on his hands to kind of work with here. Will have to smite the first buff, don't get me wrong, but time, one of the most important currencies for junglers at the moment. And I think Truist picking the vibe, picking something a little bit more aggressive. If you don't have those timers, if you're kind of off kilter here, you can kind of just let Nocturne, unfortunately, just farm for free, as now all the lanes are settling out here. Boogie and Mental Boomer should have the advantage level 1 because of how they've positioned themselves, but eventually Peace Pipe and Peptic are just going to be able to shove Boogie in eventually and kind of establish lane control here.
And we'll see exactly how First Class wants to play the Sivir out. This is a champion that, yes, can shove waves, but I actually don't think it's super necessary against some weaker laners like the Jinx. Sometimes it's okay for you to wait for an overextension from NWE's side, especially because Truist is pathing bot side for the time being. So maybe they're going to wait to really kind of turn on the gas and just push these waves constantly over and over again. Right now, I believe that Blue Squad wants an angle and first blood.
Yeah, nice wardage coverage from Boogie and Boomer here. One in the dry, one in the river, completely covering all of the angles of attack here, barring a lane gank from Truist, who I believe is spotted on a ward here. Victor right now, Easy, the apple of Truist's eye right now. Easy will have to flash.
Ooh, yeah, they will, in fact, have to flash away. I believe I'm a little bit desynced on the stream. May have had an extra little bit of time on that pause, Shibby. So I'm probably going to have to pivot over to a quick break to get resynced. If that's okay with you, we'll be right back. All right, we can also just get synced onto Discord itself. While I called for that pause, we do in fact get first blood over to First Class's side, but that's from a roam down from the Renekton, which is not something I expected at all. My apologies for getting interrupted right there.
Oh, it's completely fine. It happens, right? League of Legends spectator client is the quality premier spectating client here. As unfortunately, like you said, that roam from Bruiser, because they were able to shove Zayak in under the turret, just able to come down. They knew the flash was down from easy, so they just hit him with the regank, the 1-2 jab, and unfortunately now that kill going over, like you said, to Solemn, who might be getting a little bit more love here because Bruiser is such a self-sufficient champion.
Yep. And we talked about this before. I think we're going to be seeing more attention from First Class towards that mid lane because Easy really is going to be the big scaler that is unanswered in one of these lanes. Camille maybe is going to push back against Bruiser on this Renekton a little bit, but already we're seeing the domination just in the raw 1v1 from Blue Squad's top laner once more. The Renekton is up about 10 CS at this point in time. Now Truist just going to hover this bot side of the map, chase Mental Boomer away from Teptic, who just got hit by the Dredge line. But overall, this yet again seems to be coming all up in favor of First Class early.
Yeah, they're positioning their ganks well. The laning from New World, it's very, very aggressive, but unfortunately leaving them open to kind of these ganks, these angles, these kills that they shouldn't be giving up here. They've got the right mentality. They just kind of need to temper it just a little bit.
Yep.
As Denali, he's not in any position to help anyone right now. He's still level 4, has to rotate his camps. Once the 6 mark ticks, then we can really start seeing this composition come into fruition on the side of New World Esports here. But it might be too little too late, given how active Truist has been in the early game so far.
And credit to New World Esports for getting some isolated lane CS advantages. Also in the jungle, Denali is out farming Truist. The thing is, that's kind of expected. The problem is First Class is answering right back with just better tempo plays. Bruiser's roam towards that mid lane is an example of that. And now Truist stepping on the gas, getting that Renekton freed up once more, and they're just going to go take those Krugs and really push NWE's jungler out of their own side of the map.
I like the idea of invading onto them, delaying that level 6 power spike as much as you can here. And even, with this invade, they can get some wardage down. Nice shield, from Pipe here on the Sivir, really negating everything. But now, level 6 on both sides. Zayak is just going to be able to kind of safely hookshot himself away. FC is down a level right now, and because of that, seeing him in the top lane, Denali just starting that dragon, saying, you know what, no one can stop me here.
This is the correct call by New World Esports. A really good pivot of their macro. They understand that Zayak has a little bit of an experience advantage from the fact that they weren't sent mid lane to get first blood, right? The Croc is going to be a bit behind because of that. Truist doesn't have a whole lot of kill pressure on the Camille, and therefore, immediately the cross mat comes through for NWE, and this is impressive, getting them out onto the map a little bit earlier than what we saw in game number 1. Denali the King might not be able to gank quite yet on this Nocturne, but they certainly still can impact these lanes.
Yeah, I like the idea that Denali applying some of this kind of phantom pressure onto these lanes, right? Just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not just going to farm all day. I'm not just going to, relegate myself to the jungle, and you're going to have to respect me just a little bit here. As right now, so far, the early game going a lot better for New World Order than game 1 here, and Nocturne should be ticking that level 6 very soon. Takes this red buff. I want to see. I always say the most important ultimate usage is the very first one from these globals, right? It sets the tone, it sets the pace. If you're TF, if you're Pantheon, if you're any of these guys, if your first gank kind of falls flat, you put yourself so far behind when it comes to kind of having effectiveness in these lanes and in these ganks here. I'm assuming Denali also slotted in to the ultimate hunter passive, so you want to start getting these kills onto everybody.
We really are just kind of hyping up this Nocturne like it's a summer horror movie about to be released. How scary is it going to be? Is it going to flop in theaters? We're going to have to see here in just a few moments, as in fact Denali has set up with their ultimate available as top side of the map. It looks like Zayak is getting bait into a fight near the turret, and oh no, the reign of terror of Bruiser 2012 may begin.
Truist coming in first on the gas, like you said, uses his level 6 just a little bit better. And now Denali has ticked level 6, has nowhere to go, as the Herald is going to be taken from by First Class here. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Boogie and Mental Boomer doing a really good job navigating this lane, not giving Sivir that pushing power, not letting themselves get shoved in here, taking a turret plate for themselves as well, as now Easy has also roamed down. He is spotted, but Can Pipe and Peptic do anything about a 4-man Nocturne gank coming in? The smart thing to do would be to leave, which is what they are doing.
That certainly is doing something.
Yeah, that's the play here. Take the Krugs, get some gold while you can, but you can't really do anything as 4 members were coming down, and they don't know if they've gone yet. They haven't seen Victor in lane. He's just showed right now. They have no clue where Nocturne is. They are very, very afraid.
And this is a very interesting situation to analyze because there's 2 ways to look at this bot lane. I think one of them is the one that you were bringing up, Shibby, where you say Boogie and Mental Boomer are doing a great job putting the tempo down, trying to get this Jinx ahead early with the phantom pressure that Denali is exuding onto the map. But the flip side of that is First Class is doing the right thing if Truist is going to weak side Peace Pipe and Peptic, right? They aren't using Sivir's pushing power to its maximal ability. They're getting shoved in the spot side of the map, and while that does mean they're occasionally under threat of getting run down or getting thrown under the tower with a big dive from multiple people, at least they are drawing resources from NWE, and NWE hasn't found a kill onto these 2 champions just yet. Sivir isn't damningly behind on CS just yet either, and so there still is definitely some good to come out of the fact that First Class is losing quite a bit of gold versus Boogie right now.
We laughed at the Jinx rotation right now, but the investment put in onto him, right? As I say that Truist, Nocturne is here.
Yeah, and it's going to be a raw 3v3. Both junglers' ultimates are utilized, and the Flame Choppers doing a great job keeping Truist away from the safety of their team. Boogie gonna get that kill, gets excited. Boomer is actually going to grab the kill onto Peace Pipe because of the Ignite, I believe. But that is a favorable play now for New World Esports. No kills answered back by First Class, and that will even up the kill score. And now the gold lead is over to Red Squad side.
I would say that's a pretty damn good Nocturne ultimate.
Oh my god, they're gonna get more!
Pulling a page out of Bruiser's book, saying, you know what, I like that play. Let me just yoink it real quick here, getting a kill onto Solomon. So far, New World Esports turning everything on its head at the moment, and nice 2,000 gold lead at the 11-minute mark. This Jinx just got a whole Tower's plate worth of gold to themselves right now. Amazing, amazing play so far from this squad.
Boogie really set up like a huge carry for NWE's side, and I think this is where Denali is just going to keep applying pressure on the map. First Class, while they did get a gank successfully off onto Zayak, haven't really established the same gaping hole of priority that NWE has anywhere for themselves, and because that is the case, we're seeing a big 2,000 gold lead over to Red Squad right now, and they are very much impressing. They are coming back, and First Class doesn't yet have an answer.
Yeah, they've kind of not been able to apply pressure in the right areas. Truist trying to do what he can, got counter-ganked in the bot lane. Nocturne ultimate coming out. Draken is on the menu for New World Esports here. I don't know if First Class actually want to opt into contesting it here, as now they're funneling the gold into Bruiser. You know what? This time around, the Herald's going to you. You're going to have to dive in onto Boogie and see if you can just burst this Jinx out completely. No flashes available. I love this, right? We see where both teams have propositioned themselves, as Peace Pipe is just going to be able to eat that with the spell shield here. I like this. 80 carry versus top laner. Croc versus Crook right now for both of these teams.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Boogie, I think, is currently in the lead on balance. New World Esports kind of have better gold distribution on their side because, hey, the more fed a Jinx is, the better. That chain kill potential is absolutely terrifying. Kind of transition from Denali on that Viego in game number 1 over to Boogie on the Jinx in game number 2. But First Class, they're doing a good job trying to find an angle back into this game. Bruiser, this time around, is happy to see the tower go down early because that frees them up to make the plays that we saw them start this game off with. Move towards the mid lane, move towards overextensions from NWE, and if a shutdown can be had versus Boogie or the like, I do believe that First Class can angle themselves back into a favorable position. As mid lane, we see the Lulu ultimate burn to answer back against Denali the King, but unfortunately the damage from NWE is just packed through onto this ADC, but now we are seeing the push through on the far side from Truist. Unfortunately, there's just no follow-up, and the Vi is going to fall to their sister. That's another disaster for FC.
Yeah, a bit of a staggered kind of engage here. Bruiser went in, blew all of his cooldowns, and then Truist came in, died to the ensuing follow-up from New World Esports. They threw everything at Peace Pipe here. Even with the spell shield, the Nautilus hook came out, the Jinx rocket came through. It was just enough damage for Boogie to start getting the resets going. You see how they're going to proposition this composition right now. New World Esports just pick one hero and throw everything at them, all the cooldowns, and eventually they should die here. And really well played. The target selection is what's going to be key for them. And First Class showing a bit of a desynced engage here on that last kind of play.
Definitely, it looked way too striated for them to be able to pull off anything against New World Esports, who coordinated their jumps perfectly. And we were worried about Denali the King on this Nocturne and what exactly they could do. We talked about the spell shield from Peace Pipe. We talked about Peptic having their ult, having their W to really disrupt any engage. But it seems like the answer is just throw like 3 or 4 abilities, and eventually you're going to be able to get through the Sivers defenses. You'll be able to break up First Class, and from there, their counter engage isn't looking that hot this time around. They don't have the domineering gold lead they did in game number 1, and because that is the case, NWE is actually the bully on the map right now.
Yeah, they're going to take this second Herald here. Don't know if they're going to willing to kind of stop it here. First Class just trying to get what they can. Your Truist taking the blue buff, a consolation prize at best. Right now, they're just so far behind in the 80 carry kind of itemization right now. Peace Pipe still doesn't have his mythic. Boogie is getting farther and farther ahead, picking up CS, picking up turret gold here, picking up everything. And right now, that top lane gap in game 1 is almost mirroring itself right now in game 2. But this time, it's Boogie versus Peace Pipe, and Boogie is just getting everything donated over to her.
And Zyke is doing what they need this game. That's what most impresses me about the Camille. Sure, they are behind versus the Renekton. This is vaguely understood to be what was going to happen, especially with Truist putting focus up there. But unfortunately, Zyke is not running it down the same way they did in game number 1. This isn't solo kill after solo kill. And because that is the case, NWE don't have to worry about just a massive money pit in the ground that they're constantly tossing gold into. This time around, First Class just haven't got the advantages that they want. And in fact, Zyke is doing a really good job playing off of Vision here, interrupting Solemn's back, and even with the Super Mega Death Rocket going wide, this champion just has nowhere to go except for back to the fountain.
Yeah, you're not going to beat Camille in a 1v1, unfortunately. That's just not how that champion functions at the moment. Zyke, like you said, just not inting, and turns out, you know, New World Esports is like, hey, man, like, we could just win this outright. 2-1, having an absolute turnaround. The redemption arc is coming in, and Truist and the rest of First Class just cannot seem to find the engage. They cannot seem to find their footing. They haven't been able to execute on the composition, right? The press R, dive into it, the Renekton, Sivir speeds you guys up, and there you go. You've got a really nice shockwave being set up. It's just the fact that New World Esports have been first to pull the trigger, and the counterpunch, like you said, is just not there.
Yeah, the one time that we saw that composition come to fruition, it was immediately answered back by the fact that Denali the King was there to answer what could have been a 3v2 bot side for First Class. Because that is the case, all of a sudden, bullying power is all the way over to NWE's side, and First Class is in a composition that really thrives off of priority across the rift. They want to try to force NWE into awkward engages, awkward funnels through choke points and the like, but now their engage is a lot less viable, a lot less valuable. And because of that being the case, they really just have to stand there, take it, and wait for mistakes from NWE before they can do anything to respond. And look what that's turned into. Not only is there a massive gold lead over to Red Squad's side, but Shibby, this is sole point now for New World Esports Orion.
Yeah, this is the last dragon that First Class is willing to give here, right? You cannot simply just lose Chemtech Dragon to a squad like this. It makes the Nocturne impossibly hard to kill. It makes the Camille impossibly hard to kill. It just makes this game infinitely harder to come back from, as Bruiser takes a massive true damage Q to the face here. And now this Renekton that we propositioned as this lane dominant, lane bully champion has fallen to the wayside, as Camille with the Divine Sunder, with the plated steel caps, is just going to be able to run this side lane into the ground, as now the rest of First Class are here. Mental Boomer, a nice blast plant. You gotta love the extended blast plants as well from the Chemtech Soul Rift. I love it so much.
I gotta say, given how down I was on NWE's chances in game number 1 at this point in the game, I gotta do the same for first class. This is not looking like a game that Blue Squad can win at this point in time. The scaling is over to NWE in a lot of different lanes. Boogie, Easy, both on hyperscaling champions that already have a bunch of gold thrown over to them. Look at the CS lead mid. Solemn is just not really an entity in this game in much the same way Zayak was in the last one. And while I think the Oriana will have a little bit more utility during team fights with the Shockwave, that's not enough to answer back versus the fact that NWE clearly know how to play from ahead, right? They are doing exactly what First Class did in the first round. They are running through enemy territory. But that being said, Zayak is a little bit caught out topside of the map, fires off the Hextech ultimatum, and immediately just flashes over the wall. They do, in fact, get to safety.
They burn 2 ultimates on the side of First Class here. Relatively low cooldown as we're talking about it right now. Both of them are almost 15%, 25% done already here. I like the play. I like it that you have to kind of force Zayak to kind of be a little bit more thoughtful about how he pushes these side lanes here. But the objective bounties have started, and I've always been one of those individuals, like, when you see that on your team, you're like, oh, we're really far behind.
Yep.
Wait a minute. And that kind of plays into the mental game here, right? You kind of start feeling like you're in a pit. You can't take any fights. Makes you play a little bit more safer here. But now we have to see if New World Esports can do the Baron dance properly. Can they tango with the worm in a way that doesn't get their team completely wiped? First Class did a mishap in game 1. New World Esports, though, they do have this Baron coming up in about 5 seconds. They can take it on respawn with their gold lead, but they might be a little bit scared because of Solemn, because of Bruiser, just giving them an easy avenue into your backline here, funneling into that pit. They might just look to kind of extend the game out a little bit longer, get some more items, and then look to pull the trigger.
Well, we do have that dragon in 2 minutes, Shibby. That's really where I think New World Esports is first going to pull the trigger. I believe that while they are moving up towards that Baron Nashor, it's just kind of a show of power more so. Okay, well, they do seem to actually be starting it, so I'm going to stop that thought right here. First Class, going to try to contest this one. Nice back off from Red Squad. Yeah, I don't think that we're going to be seeing a full-on engage until that dragon comes up. I was right all along. There we go. My play-by-play analytical skills coming through.
Just took a little bit, right? Just, you got to shake the dust off the crystal ball. It's not exactly, you know, on point here. You've got a little couple seconds. You're kind of like a Nostradamus in that sense, right? It takes a little bit before the prediction comes in here. But overall, I think that's the right play. I think you've got it kind of nail on the head, Nyarko.
Yeah.
They're not going to start the Baron here. They're just going to look to pressure, potentially get some TPs out at best here. If they do start the Baron, if they do start funneling in and really hard committing to this, it could prove disastrous here. I think you wait for the dragon, you force the 50-50, and if you win that fight, if you win the dragon, you can turn your eyes towards the Baron. If you lose it, well, okay, you give some gold back, you lose that first dragon, but it's not game ending.
One thing that does massively confuse me here, Shibby, is that we are a minute before this dragon spawns, and neither of these teams have awarded the bot side river at all. Does First Class realize the situation they're in here? Like, Chemtech Soul is one of the strongest in the game, if not the strongest in the game, especially with a scrappy team like NWE has. Even if you get Boogie low, all of a sudden, boom, those new resistances kick in, and if this champion's already excited because of a kill earlier on in the fight, that could be absolutely disastrous for FC. They have to try to contest here, but they just are dead fish in the water. Well, they aren't even in the water because they're nowhere near the river. I don't know what's going on.
They're just taking it slow right now. They're on a vacation timing at the moment. First Class, they want to pick up the red buff. They want to get everybody ducks in a row here. Don't like the king, though. They want to pull the trigger right now. Peace Pipe is going to die.
Oh my god, Peace Pipe already taken so low. Lulu also chased off by the Chaos Storm, and Vi and Bruiser are on the wrong side of this one as Hextech Ultimatum is going to come down onto Truist. The Dominus comes through from the Renekton as he tries to dive down on the backline. Denali the King goes low, but it is only a valiant effort. First Class find themselves crumbling at the 22-minute mark, and that is going to be the fastest soul we've seen so far in the BOL.
Yeah, really well played. I like the trap, the spring, the setup, right? Waiting for Solomon Bruiser to go on ahead, leaving their lonely 80 carry behind. Peace Pipe had to burn everything just to live a little bit longer, and by that time couldn't even participate in any of the fights. Zayak saw the trigger, saw how low she was, and pulled it immediately here. Just a clean game so far from New World Orion, and they know something we don't. The Nocturne Camille combo is coming into fruition. Follow that up with the Nautilus. Boogie nice and fed right now. They are in the complete driver's seat for this game too.
Yeah, you can call me Nostradamus here, Shibby, because much like Nostradamus, I was wrong about this game. First Class just absolutely have no recourse now that they find themselves this far behind. In fact, with the lights going dim once more, it looks like New World Esports really wants to just put the death nail in the coffin as Truist is taken to about half health. That was a really horrible mixing of metaphors on my front. Death knell is not a nail in the coffin, but alas, I will leave that one alone to go to the grave where it deserves.
Denali the King, though, just pulling the trigger on this Nocturne. I like it, right? He's not scared. He's like, you know what? I've got the gold lead. I've got the team behind me, forcing out the wild growth here, as well as, I believe, a couple other cooldowns on the side of First Class here. And right now, FC, they're just praying for a mishap on the tower, right? They're praying for a dive. They go a little too deep, and then you lock up whoever is too far in. But they're just not here on the damage side. The Sivir with one item right now to what is the 2.5 of Boogie is just not enough. She might be able to finish this last item here if she picks up a little bit more CS. Boogie probably trending towards, like, looks like the Essence Reaver, if I'm not. Oh, it might be Navori, actually. Sorry. That might be the Navori Quick Blades here, but I just don't think that's enough. There's so much tankiness coming out because of the soul, because of how these individuals have built. That's a stride breaker Nocturne. That's some health on him. He's got some meat on his bones. And right now, Zayak pushing down this bottom lane, they could just simply go for a 1-3-1 or a 1-4 and just siege all these outer turrets before they look to kind of feast on these inhibitors.
Yeah, the world is New World Esports' oyster, and First Class are allergic to shellfish. They will try to get a pick here up against Mental Boomer, but that shockwave only finds the Nautilus, and there was no follow-up, so that was a complete waste of Orion ult. And now, given that this champion is so far behind the victor, and I was talking about the fact that their main goal is to be an ult bot, now they're just a bot, which is the worst thing to be in this game.
Yeah, Mental Boomer just kind of casually walked away. He's like, oh, thanks. My back was had a really bad knot in there. So he just kind of takes the Oriana ultimate. It's like, perfect. Thank you so much. You'll take that worth every single time, as now top lane is being sieged. And yeah, it's really rough for First Class. They are so incredibly far behind, right? They're praying that they kind of misstep here, as now Truist goes in. A brave Q. This is their option right now. It's 4v5. They have to pull the trigger.
It looks like they're going on to Victor. I am currently operating at like 144p here on the Discord stream, but I can see the fact that First Class are doing a good job splitting away this fight. Peace Pipe going to pick up the kill onto Denali. Teleport being channeled here, but Mental Boomer's also going to go down. But look at the damage over the wall. Boogie goes unstoppable, gets excited, and while First Class have found some crucial defensive picks, unfortunately, it is not enough to save this top lane tier 2.
They've burned everything on easy. They only ended up getting Mental Boom and Denali. That is not the threat on the side of New World Esports. Boogie still alive. Zayak firmly in control here. Easy the only one within striking distance. And now you've got to kind of wade through all of this CC, and they're just going to be able to walk it out. They get what they want. They get all the outer turrets. They even get a tier 3 inhib turret here. I don't think New World is going to make the same mistake. They're probably going to group as 5 here. Zayak had to burn the TP, just wasn't in time. Really well played from New World here. First Class, like you said, pick up some kills, but it's just not enough at the moment.
Yeah, First Class yet again are just slammed inside of their base with no real recourse. And the problem is, when you're in a situation this dire, even without the inhibitors taken down, New World Esports just kind of run the map. They're going to be able to force a fight at this Elder Dragon about 1.5 minutes. And even if that doesn't fully go their way, if they decide to not immediately take it, they could just pivot back, get the Baron Nashor as well. And so it's just a mess on all fronts.
Yeah, and you just see First Class just scrounging up whatever gold they can, right? Saying, here, you take this, you take that. Divvying up the pieces of a sandwich if you have like 7 siblings, right? That's literally what's happening at the moment right now. First Class can't do much about it. They're just picking up gold left and right, trying to stop potentially this Elder Dragon, which I think they're going to have to make their stand. If they're facing down a composition like this, with Chemtech Soul and Elder Dragon on their back as well, they can dive without any worry in the world here. If you make your stand, First Class, it's here. Just don't go down without swinging is what I'm going to say.
All right. Well, First Class do look like they are going to try to confidently make a final stand. They know that this Elder Dragon could just be the breaking point. I don't think it's a straw that breaks the camel's back. The camel's back has been fully broken. They are currently in physical therapy. At this point, it's just a matter of outright killing the camel. That's what I'm worried about. They're going to press R onto someone. Once again, can't really tell with the 144p stream. Pop-Tart's doing the best they can to keep me in casting mode, but that is Bruiser getting first kill of this fight. Boogie is being taken low. Vi gets the kill, it looks like, and Denali the King is going to throw themselves at 4 members, but just give up their life in order to do so. Zayak gets back over the Elder Dragon wall, but now Peace Pipe is going to follow them. It's another shutdown for First Class coming back around the Elder.
And the Elder Dragon's on the menu. Bruiser TPing in. A ace for First Class. They find the engage. They find the fight. This is the turning point. Elder Dragon on the menu right now. A lot of kills going over. New World slapping themselves in the face right now. Tapping their forehead saying, what went wrong as Boogie went down? The Dragon going over to First Class. The Bounty going over to First Class. And now it's just 3,000 gold separating these squads.
This is not the look I was expecting. New World Esports, I can't really analyze the fight. Actually, Shibby, please take over for me. Like I said, I'm literally casting off of like 8-bit pixel graphics, but it looked impressive. First Class absolutely tore through them, split the fight up, and really kind of exposed the weakness of some of these champions. I don't really want to like come back and answer about Denali and say, oh, yeah, actually, guys, the Nocturne was in fact a bad pick, because that just feels like a bit petty at this point in time. But the Nocturne really couldn't do anything in a situation like that because of the way that their ult works. They inherently are throwing themselves towards a group of people that the rest of the team cannot follow up on, so they were a non-entity in the fight. Meanwhile, Truist just gets right down on top of the carry you needed to kill early, and Boogie is taken down in an instant, giving a lot of gold and now a massive buff back over to First Class.
Niarco, I'm gonna see if I can kind of come in and save the day here. You might be able to look on it on my screen right now so I can get you back into the play-by-play, because God forbid you want me doing play-by-play. That is an atrocity, I guarantee it. But like you said, you pretty much got everything right? Your glasses are on point here, as now the Baron is gonna be on the eyes of First Class here. They have the Elder on their back. They said they've got full confidence, full swagger, and it's gonna be rough. Let's see if they can get the engage off.
All right, Nocturne going to activate their ultimate, try to restrict the vision of First Class, but that's Baron over. New World Esports on the mid lane rush gambit. They want to try to take down these towers. Zayak is looking to interrupt a few backs, can't quite hook shot there in time, and so I'm going to take that tier 3 turret mid any day. Baron Nashor, though, is far more favorable, I think, and First Class now actually have brought this back within 500 gold versus a team that up until this point was ruling the roost.
I'm telling you, Niarco, just change your name to Niarstradamus. You had the prediction correct. It just took a little bit of time. You gotta dust off the crystal ball. It's not exact at this point in time, but it is happening here, as right now, mid lane base race is happening. Zayak and the rest of the squad are looking to defend here. Can they take the base?
All right, tower is going down. Truist with a full health bar, just gonna activate their arc onto Denali the King. Mental Boomer is also taken low. Boogie and Easy are getting out, but First Class are going to have to try to defend their base, but it only takes one. And now New World Esports can look to lay siege to these Nexus towers. It looks like it's Bruiser who's gonna get revived there off of a GA purchase that I did not see in the past, but Solemn is struggling up against the Camille, and because of that, Blue Squad have to back off.
They don't commit. They go for half and half. You can't have everything as...
Truist almost died there, baby.
Hey, there you go. 0.5 seconds of invulnerability on that recall here. Not invulnerability, but, I guess unstoppable recall there. They try to get the best of both worlds. I think if they fully commit to that base race, I think they win. Unfortunately, Solemn did have to back. There was no long-range pressure on Boogie, so they could just go into rocket form, wave clear, give New World Order a little bit more time. They are down in gold now. They are not ahead anymore. They have fallen behind. They still have Chemtech Soul in their back pocket, but the item power spikes have hit for First Class. They have found their groove. The mojo is here. Engage after engage has been beautiful in this late game.
2 minutes on the next Elder Dragon, and First Class have found the goal to finally take an even fight. New World Esports have got to be worried. They lost a 5v5 when they had a massive advantage onto Boogie and company. That has all but evaporated. And look at the farm on the Sivir. Peace Pipe, we were considering to be completely out of this game, but they have 10 CS per minute. They are absolutely now wrecking face in the income department. They have the GA prepared and everything, and this could be a terrifying proposition for New World Esports, who find themselves actually in the awkward position of being the ones who will be dragged across the map to answer back against First Class.
Yeah, top lane for mid lane inhib right now. Baron, like you said, spawning in 3 minutes. Elder Dragon more important here, where New World Order kind of just flubbed it, right? And that could be a pain point for them at the moment. They could be scared to start it up. They're not decisive anymore. They're not pulling the trigger on these engages. They have lost their luster, and right now Truist has been the one to dive onto Boogie, to dive onto this backline and get the damage in. Bruiser, like you said, doesn't have the GA available. Both AD carries have it up. Zanya's as well available for Oriana. There's not a lot of good targets for Denali to ult here, and this is kind of what happens. This is the Nocturne conundrum, right? You ult, and eventually you run out of targets because it's a death sentence for yourself if you go in. You don't have anybody to burst down. You don't have any follow-up here. Peace Pipe has the exhaust, has all the summoner spells available. Peptic has been playing a very nice game. I was opted in for the Moonstone Renewer and Ardent just to buff up Sivir a little bit more, just playing that hyper support role here. I love the adaptation, and right now, New World Esports, they're on the trigger.
Interesting that they're going to call to try to take down Mental Boomer instead of holding that ultimate for Boogie, but I think they will, in fact, be able to at least get the support low. The question is, what can New World Esports do on the backside of this one? Bruiser is trying to 1v1 Zayak, who's still pushing through that top side of the map to continue to try to contest the Nexus of Blue Team, but the Renekton with the Dominus is pretty tanky. It's tough for the Camille to get through this champion, but trade by trade, they are looking more and more favorable here, and this means that this is a must-win fight for First Class. They have to get back here to try to defend their base in some capacity, but I don't know if it's going to be possible.
Yeah, and do get maybe slightly a pause bug here. My client has actually paused as the team fight is going on. Oh, apologies. We're getting some technical difficulties here at the moment. Time controls.
All right. I'm going to pivot once again to a different stream and see if that's going to work. All right, it does look like the fight's activated, actually. And now, given how dramatic this is, I'm just going to stick with you, Shibby, for the time being. Denali, the king, going low, forced away from the rest of the team. Solemn is going to pick that kill up. But once again, you have to look at the base. First Class needs to find a way to reset. Bruiser is being taken low, and they have to defend this last tower that they have in their control, as Boogie is going to stop Peace Pipe's back. This is such a fraud situation for both sides. I haven't seen a macro situation like this in a while. Only in Platinum League, baby.
Yeah, I think we're both gonna unfortunately have to pivot maybe here. Like you said, it's gonna be a little rough. I think we're slightly behind the stream right now. FGC.
Oh God, I transitioned over to the stream and Solomon's almost dead. What's going on, guys? Yeah, okay, First Class having to reset. The Elder Dragon's still activated. What am I watching? Nocturne Ultimate has also been dropped here, but Dominus is on Bruiser, and he's just gonna jump down and burst down easy. However, back at this neutral objective, it will be Red Squad cleaning up versus Truist, who's left all alone. The Dragon's resetting a little bit, but this Elder will eventually be taken by NWE.
Yeah, we're both casting off the Twitch stream right now, so apologies if we're a little bit delayed right now. Peace Pipe and the rest of First Class have no answer right now, as it's really rough, to kind of watch these two teams go back and forth, objective after objective. Right now, New World Order, they've winning the war, they've got the Elder Dragon, they've been in this situation before here, the Baron coming up as well. Now, can they close this game out? Inhibs are open, right? Top, mid, and bottom are open for the taking. New World are gonna reset off of this Baron kill. They're gonna take their time. They're gonna play it really smart, as it feels like Denali just piecemealing these items together right now. Double pickaxe chain vest invested right now here. I think we're gonna have to look to Zayak right now to kind of split push this team apart.
Yo, Shibby, I gotta say, I feel bad for Zayak because that first game, I was flaming them hard. I was flaming them hard through the draft phase as well. But they really have turned into an MVP. Insane split pushing on their side. And First Class has just been looking dazed and confused whenever the Camille encroaches upon their base. They didn't respect the power of this champion. And because of that, they were only really ever sending 1 or 2 people their way. But now that's clearly proven to be a detriment to First Class's chances of winning this game. They're down to only 1 turret left defending that Nexus. And with the Baron buff pushing in, this could be NWE's chance to shine.
Yeah, this is, the game-ending push. Looks like it's coming upon them right now. They're coming down into this mid lane here. It's looking rough, right? But I've seen First Class in this situation before. If they can wait it out, as looks like Zayak is going to push down into that bottom lane here. They can't really defend the inhibs. They kind of have to posture and kind of fake like, hey, we might engage on you. You never know. But really, they're going to have to fight under this lone remaining Nexus turret. The minion waves are flooding in. Doom is impending form for First Class. Right now, New World Order just looking to kind of get these lanes shoved and get the double supers ready. And they have the win condition here. Can they play this fight out correctly?
I think that they have all the tools to do so. If they can't play it out correctly here, First Class is going to win this game, Shibby. However, New World Esports, they have shown that they were immaculate from ahead. Barring a few hiccups a bit deeper on into the game, this is the situation that they shine in. Boogie is just looking for the angle. They're starting to rain down Pokemon, Truist and company. Peptic doing all that they can to shield these champions up, and now we see the engage coming through. Nocturnal going to be activated as Truist is looking for the angle down on the backline. Boogie has to flash back out. They're going low. Bruiser is going to take down Denali the King, but now the GA's popped. They're going to have to get resurrected before they can re-engage for the fight. Zayak is trying to take this tower, but they step too far forward, and First Class are going to hold in their base. Resurrect, pop by Simmer. Boogie trying to hold on, trying to make the dream come true for their team, but they too are taken out. Truist charging up the ball breaker, trying to get down onto the sister. Can't quite do it though. Peace Pipe had to catch the wave. It was too late. Easy is going low, but now the Jinx with the Rockets is just going to tear through the rest of the team. There's the ace. There's game number 2. New World Esports tie up the series.
Off the back of Boogie's Jinx, they take the game, they take the Nexus. An absolute slugfest. Some would say clown fiesta, Niarco. My God, a couple whiffs here and there. And finally, New World Order close the game out.
Well, I don't know who deserved to lose that game more, Shibby. Like, New World Esports fumbled the bag. Like, they were over a sewer grate and they lost all of their pirate doubloons down into the sub levels of the city, right? Like, they should have lost the game off of that Baron Elder take that First Class was able to piece together off of a pretty dramatic fight around the first time that neutral objective spawned up. But First Class couldn't finish it because they just did not respect Zayak, who really just came through clutch. They pressured the base. They took down towers. They took down inhibitors. They made it so First Class couldn't fully push out the way that they needed to. And then NWE turns it back around. And with some really awkward plays around the second Elder Dragon, First Class also punched their ticket to them getting flamed in this post-game lobby, Shibby. I mean, what in the world were they doing? To be fair, I was like watching it in a hyperbaric time chamber with like everything going wibbly wobbly around me, jumping back and forth between streams, but it all looked like a mess. First Class just did not really have an answer for the Camille. I don't know what Truist was doing alone versus like 3 people out at the Elder either, but they died as well, which meant that the pressure was put on even more, and eventually NWE, in one of the scrappiest 5v5s I've ever seen, are able to take it home and get us to a 3rd game.
3 words, Niarco. Plat League, baby. That's
Plat League, baby.
Plat League, baby. Just it was a contest of who could whiff the hardest, and it just unfortunately First Class whiffed a little too much. I think what sealed the deal for me was the missed Q onto the resurrecting Jinx from Vi. That was, once that was done, the Rockets came in and the rest was history. The team fight, an absolute mess on both sides. Nobody won. Both of these teams lost in my book, in my opinion. Can we just put 0-1 for both of these guys right now?
I mean, I guess essentially, this is a situation where we can still put a loss on the record book alongside the fact that Orion won here and keep it balanced, right? This is actually kind of like a bizarre best of five, except that we're in a situation where we're looking for one team to get to 3 losses the fastest. Both teams now sitting at 2 losses. We're gonna throw it to a quick break here, Shibby, before we can see who's gonna get the third and final one for the night here. We will see you guys soon.
And I know it's not perfect, but I'll try to fix everything we've been wanting, but it is what it is. When you don't act like you cared, and I'm left to clean what we bared. I will never understand why you did to treat me like I wasn't there.
Your lips, your touch, your eyes are danger. I can't see the safer side. The dark, the depths, the endless abyss. I'm with you, I fall inside. The night, I fall inside. The night. I fall inside the night. Your lips, your touch, your eyes are danger. I can see the safer side. The dark, the depths, the endless abyss. I'm with you, I fall like I'm falling within myself. You had me going through all this hell. Always hurt, never heal, and bleeding out. No one's here.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. It is me, Recovering Narco, here with Recovering Shibby, as we are trying to figure out what the hell happened last game and what can both of these teams do to adjust for the third and final round of the night.
I'm going to tell everybody right now, look into the camera. I'm going to flash the beam. Last game didn't happen. We have some high-level Blue Otter League Platinum gameplay here. Throw game 1 and 2 out the window. Both of these teams, it's do or die for them, right? They got to come out with the W here. Orion locking in that Varus. It was banned from first class on the first rotation here. They've swapped out the Nocturne. They said, you know what? I don't want to deal with that anymore. The Jack's being taken away, so dominant in game 1. So some trauma bans coming in for both of these teams. But Nyarko, Varus, like you said, this is something more you're familiar with, right?
And it's familiarity built for a reason. This champion is so strong, and this is an interesting choice to respond. First class gonna go with the Kaisa in the hands of Peace Pipe, who, besides the Void Missiles, is massively outranged by Varus. They're just gonna look to dive after they get to level 6. And so with that in mind, I think we're probably gonna be seeing Red Squad angle back towards getting Peptic, another Enchanter, maybe the Lulu's gonna come out again. But you know, everything apparently is just going completely out the window at this point, Shibby. I'm gonna stop talking and let you talk a little bit about why this Nautilus is in fact the pickup.
Kaisa Nautilus, right? Can't go wrong. A very strong lane back about a season and a half ago. Still strong into this Varus, assuming it is that poke Varus composition here. You've got the Braum for some added safety, but it just feels like Kaisa just dives behind the Braum shield, and then you're ready here as Orion. They're gonna lock in some more immobility here, taking the Syndra on the first rotation. So the mid laner and the the mid laner and the bottom lane has been locked in for Orion here. First class, most likely gonna match here. They have the ability to save their counter pick for their top laner here. They're gonna take the victor this time around. He's gonna maybe show Orion's mid lane how to pilot this champion.
I'm a little bit surprised that we're seeing the Braum come out instead of something like the Heimerdinger, which has been nerfed a bit in the support role, but is still very strong into dive. I think that could have been a good choice. And then from there, you could pivot into something like a jungle pick and not have to immediately get yourself a bunch of AP there in the mid lane for easy. But that is what NWE is going to angle for. It makes a lot of sense, but as you said, I don't know if the Braum is going to be enough to protect the Varus from the fact that both the Nautilus and the Kaisa could jump on in. The Victor for first class, going to be the first time in which we're seeing Solemn, I think, actively outscale easy selection here. Obviously, Syndra also can get very big later on, but Victor's just kind of the king of scaling, kind of the king of handshaking away the early game there in the mid lane. We'll see if that's the direction that FC needs to go here, as I do believe that was their biggest pressure point in the last game. They were competitive, they got some big fights late, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, Boogie was just able to smack them around on that Jinx that was outdoing Sivir from Peace Pipe, and yeah, I think that the dynamic mid was also very much the same. Easy was doing a surprising amount on the Victor, even though we didn't highlight them a whole lot. We're in the second ban phase now. Udyr once again knocked out. I'm sorry about that, Shibby. Maybe the next series we'll be able to get this one on the Rift for you. But the Camille, also another trauma ban for first class. Zayak, I think, proved their mettle. It's made me light off the beatdown I was giving them verbally, because man, they really impressed, especially in that mid game.
Yeah, really, really good split pushing prowess from Zayak, right? Understanding that, hey, the way we're going to win is not through the 5v5 team fight against the Eldered Up first class. We're going to win by splitting them apart, picking them, pulling them away, and eventually Boogie will just carry, right? As now, this is where these two teams pivot, and I like first class sticking to their guns, saying, we're just going to go all in. You're going to pick Immobility. You're going to pick Varus. You're going to pick Syndra. Well, we're just going to slam in more hard engage. They're going to take the Jarvan for themselves here. A strong jungler in their own right. Now, does Orion pivot? Do they take the Gragas for the disengage? I would love to see this kind of taken in the jungle here. Aatrox being locked in as well. Let's see. They're going to take that blind first class. You know, Bruiser going to have a bevy of options to take into this Aatrox at the moment. But I think I really think Gragas could just mess up First Class's plans here with the disengage, with the barrels, with everything that he provides, and really give Orion that extra comfort and safety from this hard engage composition that First Class has drafted themselves.
I think Gragas is a fantastic pick here. The thing is, Shibby, it may be too good for Orion, right? We've seen them have some bizarre picks here at the very end, and the Zac is a little bit less crazy. It's also very disruptive, has good disengage potential. So, this isn't the most grief thing I've seen, but we'll see how First Class is going to respond now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can use Zac R defensively, right? But realistically, you're gonna elastic slingshot in. You want to kind of bash away with this Aatrox, right? Cause a lot of mayhem, kind of be that annoying duo in the back line as Darius is getting slammed in for Bruiser here. It was banned out in round 2, in game 2, round 2 rotation, right? The Mordekaiser, the Darius, all these kind of champions were taken away, but you're putting a lot of emphasis for this Darius to pop off, right? Giving Zac kind of free reign, saying, you know what, I'm going to gank you. I'm going to make your life a living hell here. Has a pretty good matchup into the Aatrox, can just duel him out mano-a-mano 1v1. This game, Orion and First Class, these junglers are going to determine how this game happens. They're both on some very strong picks coming into this early game jungle.
Hey, Shibby, what year do you think Darius was released in?
Oh, was it 2012?
Was it 2012 by any chance? Yes, it is. May 2012. They gotta stop doing this, man. First Class's top laner is First Class, and they keep giving him the champions they're literally named after.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, I think, for this Aatrox, at least in the early game. And I think, honestly, you pick Varus Braum, you're just going to pick it to kind of clear the lane. I'm assuming he's going to opt in for the poke build here, right? With the Comet, with the Man Immune, and potentially something like an Eclipse, or even, foregoing that and just going full poke here on legendary items. Really strong, right? Not too much of like a raw tank on the side of First Class. They kind of have 2 bruisers, and then you have Kaisa Victor, who you can outrange with your piercing arrows. But I think like I said, the X factor is going to be on these 2 junglers. What can they get done early? How and who and how are they going to kind of snowball here, right? Are they going to focus emphasis on the Darius on the side of First Class? Is Orion going to look to leverage that high burst potential with the Syndra, with the Zac, and just make First Class's mid lane life a living hell here on the Victor, who doesn't have a lot of mobility, drops the gravity field and kind of prays that it catches someone?
Those are all good questions, and honestly, Shibby, I think the answer is occasionally they will do that. And occasionally First Class is going to bully back Orion. I think that what we saw from game number 2 is that this is surprisingly enough, after that first matchup, anyone's set to take, because both of these teams, yet again, have a lot of different possibilities in how they want to approach this game. And I think it's really just going to be up to, as you said, how Truce and Denali the King will approach early. Zac able to gank far before level 6, right? All they got to do is get an elastic slingshot set up, jump on in, and disrupt some of these immobile champs on First Class's side. Prior to level 6, I want to see them try to get Boogie ahead on this Varus yet again. Jump down onto that Kaisa, make Peace Pipe's life a living hell, but simultaneously, Jarvan, one of the best counter engagers in the game, one of the best cheese gankers as well. Level 2, maybe they, on red side especially, are going to be the ones wrapping around through that bot side Tribush or top side and really trying to push back against what NWE's bringing to the table.
It's really odd too, because we saw Boogie absolutely hard carry on the Jinx, and now they're swapping his playstyle completely, right? Varus, he's not a hard carry, right? In its own right, he kind of whittles you down, pokes you away, gets a lot of value in that sense, right? But doesn't really take the game over unless he gets completely, and utterly far ahead of this Kaisa, right? It's not that same reliability, right? You kind of have to focus more on the Syndra, more on these Aatrox, the solo lanes for Orion, who quite frankly have struggled so far, right? I mean, we saw Kie, massive game, but early on was losing that laning phase, kind of is able to pick it up later on. And I personally think you're putting your best player on something like the Varus. You're not giving him something to kind of hard carry. You're not facilitating him. You're saying, here, take a step back, play something a little bit more utility and poke based. Let your solo laners do the work. A complete composition switch, and I don't agree with this.
I don't know, Shibby. I think that NWE Orion is just trying to get all their players time in the sun. Zayak ran it down game number 1, came back with some really good macro calls in game number 2. Boogie, massively powerful in game number 2. Time to hard to carry, but maybe those pants have now worn out their welcome. They got to be put in the laundry, and they're going to be the ones going 0-11 this time. And they sense that this is happening. Orion's just like, okay, it's time for Easy to pop off on this Syndra. Get us some big scatter of the weeks, please. And maybe alongside Denali the King, they could have something happen.
I think if they pivot to the on-hit Varus, then I can see the issue, right? Boogie, really, really good in his positioning, really solid kiting potential, right? Obviously, he doesn't have to get excited available, but Varus with on-hit plus that passive, getting 1 kill, you just start attacking so fast here. So I think it's going to be dependent on how Boogie plays it, right? What he builds, kind of how he navigates this itemization here. I'm scared of an on-hit Boogie. I'm not as afraid of the poke Boogie, and maybe he's gonna make me eat my words, but for right now, I think First Class once again drafted themselves a nice, easy composition. Orion as well. They have to navigate it a little bit more carefully because they do have a Syndra, they do have a Varus who kind of want to whittle you down a little bit before they burst you. But I think both teams just looking to bump uglies 5v5 style.
Oh my gosh. Well, we are on Twitch, and that is probably a bannable offense to display. So hopefully, it's a little bit more refined than bumping uglies, as it were. One thing I'm hoping for actually is First Class going for an invade. I think that given how bloodthirsty both of these teams are, that would be a lot of fun to play by play for. So I'm hoping to see some lines on the timeline very early on when we load on into the Rift here. But we are moving through the client draft at a pretty brisk speed for the time being. Not seeing any crazy flexes, no Aatrox jungle Zac top, no Moonstone Jarvan the 4th support or anything like that, which is unfortunate for me, but it understandably makes a lot of sense as I think both of these teams have got the giggles out. Now they are looking to go hard early and often, trying to really secure themselves their first dub here in the second week.
Yeah, and I kind of like how it was like complex draft, and they kind of just devolved into 5v5 hard engaged compositions, right? With the Aatrox, with the Zac, you have the Jarvan, the Nautilus, right? It feels like it's like that one thing where both the idiot and the genius have the right idea, but it's like the middle part. It's like, no, we gotta draft really, really smart. We have to counter draft, we have to counter pick. It's like, no, man, just pick hard engage. We'll outskill them. We'll outhand them here. I like both of these squads. I think they're pretty evenly matched after I saw game 2. So I think we're gonna get another slobber knocker of a game here.
All right, I sure hope to get a slobber knocker, mostly because that's a very fun word to say, and I want to try to bring it to the cast as much as possible, Shibby. But, regardless, it's been a fun time tonight casting with you for what is honestly the first time. It's happy to meet you, happy to get back here with the BOL, and what a series to start us off on, right? First Class versus New World Esports Orion. Gonna take to the Rift one last time. We're gonna throw it to a quick break, but when we return, it's gonna be for a real banger of a game. Slobber knocker of a game, my bad. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Blue Otter League Platinum Division, where we have been absolutely dumbfounded by this series between New World Esports Orion and First Class, in some good ways and some bad ways. It's been a crazy, absolutely wild showing as both of these teams have been pushed to the very edge in game number 2. First Class looked like they had all the momentum in the world from that first round, but it's just evaporated here with NWE getting the reins of the game early on. And while they did fumble on occasion, eventually they were able to take it home off the back of a carry performance from Boogie and some crazy macro calls from Zayak. Now, moving on to game number 3. We are not seeing that invade that I was so desperately hoping for, unfortunately, Shibby. But we did see, in fact, a 5-man top side of the map. First Class just looking to catch out any potential invades. Nothing came of it, though.
Yeah, they stacked, maybe hoping for Braum to come invade. I think that's like a common strategy, right? You have Braum, you just win level 1 almost instantly here. I think the thing that worries me, though, is that when First Class had the massive lead, they were able to close it out, right? Yeah, they had a little hiccup at that Baron. The fact that New World Esports was at 1 point 10,000 gold ahead and then it dropped literally to nothing, I think that kind of is what scares me the most here, right? If First Class, they get the lead, I feel like they can keep it, while New World, it's literally a coin toss unto what happens here, as both junglers, for the first time this series, are going to get completely hidden starts here. Jarvan looking to gank, possibly that top side here. Like you said, some shenanigans at level 2. Can also just go for the level 3 onto the Aatrox. Bruiser picking the Darius. No TP as well. Is going to need all the help in the world. You're going to kill Zayak a couple times here. Boogie and Mental Boom. That's a lethal tempo Varus. I think we might see that on hit that I was talking about.
I really hope we do see on hit. I think that Boogie needs to go for full scaling here. Just look to be the hyper carry that they clearly have proven themselves capable of being. Mental Boomer just trying to do the best that they can to keep this wave at parity. Doing a good job playing very confident with this Braum, body blocking all the way, knowing that they have the tankiness to take a dredge line or two.
Yeah, Solemn putting the lasers down onto Easy here. This mid lane matchup has been relatively quiet, right? Game 1 and game 2. Denali, though, here comes the Zac gank. Solemn.
Yeah, not a whole lot to come from that one. Solemn just going to get one laser beam down. Denali doesn't have the health to play with, an Easy a little bit too far back in the wave to really immediately jump down. So it makes a lot of sense that Solemn is even going to keep a flash about them. And now New World Esports Orion are going to have to look for another angle if they want to get first blood.
Quiet so far. Zac getting the first blood of ganks, I guess, in here, right? Going for that really, really cheeky gank. So far, though, Jarvan has been pretty quiet, and that's kind of scary, right? Like, this Jarvan hasn't shown up on the map at all. Like, where could he possibly be? Is he waiting in a lane? Is he waiting somewhere here? Really nice ward coverage. I've been very impressed with New World Esports Orion's wardage so far, right? Across these 3 games. They really understand jungle timings. They really understand where to ward and how to ward. And they've been relatively keeping themselves safe from these jungle ganks, right? Specifically bot lane with Boogie and Mental Boom. They have a really good grasp of when they can play aggressive, when they can play safe. And it's kind of netted them that victory in game 2, but also they weren't doing too bad in game 1.
No, not at all, especially not on that vision front. It's been an impressive showing from NWE Orion here, really just kind of denying that early power that Truist has. We talked about the chance for the Jarvan to go for a level 2, jump down onto one of these lanes. That has clearly been denied. They're level 4 now, just trying to power farm up, and it was actually Denali the King, first one showing out onto the map. And while it wasn't the most efficacious gank, I think it is a sign of things to come, as now Zac wants to go into the mid lane yet again, gets the going back onto Sol, and this time it's going to be chained up with the Scatter of the Week, taking the victor low. But yet again, this champion stoic up there in the mid lane, keeping the wits about them, not flashing back out. As topside now, we got to focus in on the fact that Bruiser is massively losing this trade. Big chains pulling them back in. They spin to get a little bit of a bleed passive stacked up onto the Aatrox, and Truist is cheating up to perhaps counter engage if Zayak wants to go deeper. So with that in mind, Aatrox going to do nothing more but take the reset.
And some unfortunate trade patterns from Bruiser here, not really get too much healing. Overall, I think it's actually a net even trade. That bleed passive putting in work for Darius right now. But like you said, Peptic lollipopping Braum there just a little bit. That was, I think he was behind some of the minions here. Just hashtag Nautilus things here. But so far, early game pretty quiet. Denali kind of running the pace right now.
That was a very interesting call on your part, Shibby, because now it's just living in my mind as ooh woo, peptic lollipopping Braum. And while all those terms together like make some amount of sense, in totality, it's quite wacky. Not quite as wacky as the game we just saw between First Class and NWE, but I think right on par with what we need here in the BOL.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? Like he kind of like the hook went around and got the Braum here, and so like I bet you Mental Boom is like, I don't even understand how that hit here. So far, the quietest early game we've gotten. CS leads, you know, kind of trading back and forth. Top lane with the small CS lead, mid lane with the small CS lead because of the ganks, and also jungle. We see Truist just power farming on this Jarvan. Really just like, you know what? I'm going to shift away from the narrative. I'm not going to expose myself. I'm just going to get Cataclysm and try to drop it. I would love to see him, though, kind of trying to burn some flashes early to get that timer going, especially on somebody like Easy and Zayak. Kind of put them on the back foot, as right now, these guys are just laning and farming. And I want to say, I feel like Boogie and Easy, if given a free lane, they could just carry instantly, as I think it is, like we said, that on-hit Varus. So he's going to come out with a little bit more oomph during these team fights.
For the time being, Peace Pipe does have this the Kai'Sa is wants to do for hand to get poked down, but honestly, really good navigation of the wave state from First Class's bot side. Peptic also doing a great job just absorbing some of the poke damage that the Varus can provide. And while Mental Boomer similarly is doing a great job making sure not a whole lot of damage goes down on for their own AD carry, it does just kind of feed back into what we were talking about earlier. Neither of these teams able to do a whole lot but farm up until we see some jungle intervention coming through. As we see our big three-man top side, they really, really wanted that Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, they all came in. They had the lane priority here. Denali taking the red as Truist took the Scuttle Crab, which is going to delay his red just a little bit. He's actually going for the full clear. Krug's red into topside. So far, everything's been pretty quiet. I would have expected this game to be a little bit more intense, but I think you said they got the giggles out. Now they've got the butterflies in their tummy, right? No team willing to kind of put pedal to the metal. No one really wants to make a mistake. They don't want to be the reason their team loses. As Peptic all alone under this turret, the rest of the team ready to gank.
All right, well, it's a four-man here, bot side of the map. Peace Pipe still hovering on the periphery of this fight, but the Nautilus is going to go down. The question is, can Kai'Sa answer back in some way? The Zac passive is popped, and now Truist is coming in with that Cataclysm available, immediately forcing the flash out of Boogie, so Mental Boomer is isolated from the rest of the team, and the Zac is already taken down. It's an unmitigated disaster for NWE as First Class re-engages.
You get the first blood. Boogie gets the kill, but you trade two back onto the mid and ADC. Really nice play coming out from First Class to get everybody down here. Those two kills are going to net them the dragon, going to net them potentially a turret play in the mid lane. And so far, the action devoid in top lane. Bot lane is now the, both teams is priority.
Oh man, Peace Pipe trying to give Boogie the business, not quite able to get the kill down with the ultimate activated, but that level 6 power spike from the Kai'Sa coming through clutch, and that gives some more priority over the FC. From that, they get themselves the dragon and a very small gold lead moving into the 9-minute mark.
I'm sure Peace Pipe kills there if he exhausts, right? Is able to land the W plus the extra autos, just a little bit of a whiff on their part, but so far, just like you said, bringing that pressure on. Boogie now is level 6, has the chain of corruption available. Can they do something onto this bot side? They know Peace Pipe's flash is down here. Mental Boomer still has the ignite, so they may look for a kill window here. But right now, other than that kind of bottom lane dive into the trade kills, both of these teams completely fine with farming up here. Surprisingly, these junglers as well, just like keeping the farm up on both of their sides. Denali the King is falling a little bit behind. Solemn, though, flash is up.
Yeah, Solemn just is able to flash away from the Let's Bounce that Denali activates there. Probably still a favorable trade overall for NWE. Mental Boomer also mobilizing quite nicely on the map here. Gonna start getting some vision control down around Rift Herald that could be the target of NWE Orion, who find themselves down one neutral objective right now, but they are perfectly even on that gold front. And that's a nice thing to see. This means that we're gonna go deep into this one, Shibby, without one of these teams clearly dominating the narrative.
Yeah, I think this first team fight's gonna break out either at the second dragon or potentially the third, if New World Esports is willing to give that up here. They both want to scale, so if they don't have the dragon priority, they might look to trade, as pings have come out towards that Herald. Peptic looking to kind of get some wardage down and taking it away, as both of these teams vying for vision control, but opts in to not take that pink ward out, doesn't get baited. Peace Pipe and Peptic just chilling in the bot lane.
Peptic's abysmal auto attack speed on the Nautilus really doing him dirty there. Couldn't get either of the two wards in that bush. And I feel that pain. I'm a Rel player whenever I go engage myself. And it literally just feels like I'm losing a whole level of XP whenever I go out of the lane to try to clear out a ward. It's miserable.
Yeah, that's where you build the Umbral Glaive tech onto the Rel and just.
Yeah, Umbral Glaive tech on Rel. Oh my god. Dude, speaking of weird builds, I've been obsessed with like LOLmath.net recently. If you've ever seen that website, it's like algorithmically correct like builds. I'm obsessed. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think it's always funny, the mathematically correct build here. As Bruiser mathematically putting some numbers down onto Zayak.
That is quite the way to articulate it, Chibi. I think it was much more just raw, raging bloodlust that's going to get them the kill down onto the Aatrox. And now Bruiser is looking for more. Denali going to get hit by the R reset. Low. The blood, I think, is going to be enough for Denali to be taken down. One more auto attack for Truist is going to do it. And once again, first class rally. That was insane. New World Esports Orion need to be put into a mental ward. Why did they think that was going to work?
They tried to focus the Darius down, then they swapped over to the Jarvan, forgetting that this guy's got the guillotine ready, drops the axe onto Denali with the full stacks of blood, no passive available, and the rest is history. First class, just picking up kill after kill. The gold going over to Truist and Bruiser, the two members that in this early game are gonna make Boogie's life a living hell.
All right, well, Zyke is rotating back up. Truist doesn't have the smite available. And so Zyke is able to steal away the Eye of the Herald. That's a huge boon to NWE Orion, and it will be enough gold in Potentia for them to be virtually still even on that front versus first class right now.
I love Zayak just casually walking in on the Aatrox, takes the Herald away. That's the worst feeling in the world. Truist, unfortunately, like you said, didn't have the smite available. Peace Pipe.
Split away from their Nautilus because of Glacial Fissure will use their ultimate to try to get to safety. Depth charge drop down onto easy, which means that Kai'Sa has a little bit more time to try to get a fadeaway kill back. But Boogie has come into the area, immediately shoots off their Chains of Corruption, and they will stop this from turning into yet another FC favorite play.
I really thought Peace Pipe was going to flash in for that last auto passive tick onto Mental Boomer. He was playing it, man. These mechanical demons in Platinum, man. Some of these guys are absolutely insane. As Boogie still has the flash available. Truist, Cataclysm available. Flash goes down early. Looks like they're going to be fine.
All right. Well, mid lane now, Solemn is the one being paid a visit by Denali the King, who's looking to just run down the Victor. But unfortunately, that death ray means that it's a little bit too dicey for the Zac to stay around. New World Esports Orion doing a good job hanging with the big boys. First class still only up just a little bit of gold, and we still have yet to see Shelly dropped.
Dragon is up. Hextech on the menu here, so we could get either Infernal, Ocean, Mountain. Some of the best dragons in the game at the moment could be on the menu here. We also have a Cloud Dragon, which, Nyarko, if you don't know me, I gotta let you know one thing. I absolutely detest Cloud Dragon. Should be removed from the game completely. It's a useless
we cannot be friends if you think that. Cloud Drake is the best soul in the game, dude.
Well, let's see what we get here. Let's see the
all right, easy Mental Boomer going deep, trying to get a pick, but now look at the three-man Cataclysm stuck in the choke point. First class are going to turn this play around yet again. Denali the King able to get one shutdown, but that's about it. It looks like it's a 2-for-1 play in favor of FC, and once again, they have control over the river.
I thought Boogie would be able to hammer something in. Maybe he would be able to get enough autos off to get that lethal tempo going. But unfortunately, a massive Cataclysm from Truist, right? Gets 3 and the rest is history. Peace Pipe, unbothered, unwavered, just autoing away onto Denali. And now Mental Boom.
This is not looking like a fight that FC wants to take, but take they do. Peptic jumps in thinking they have a bigger health bar than in fact they do have. And Boogie will hammer home something at the end of that, Shibby. It's a double-double for nothing. And First Class all of a sudden find themselves in a much more awkward spot around that dragon.
And that was an odd target selection too, right? You throw all of your CC, all of your support CC onto the Braum, and he's already a quarter health. You just take that kill, right? You don't give him the opportunity to 2v1 you. Instead, Peace Pipe took that opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I can definitely 1v1 Boogie here, who has Immortal Shield Bow. Meanwhile, on my end, I've got no Mythic. I've got a Noon Quiver with double the pickaxes here. So I just think that was a really bad prioritization from Peace Pipe here. I think you pick up the Braum and then you maybe turn your heads towards Boogie here. They tried to get everything and just lost it all. It's kind of like rolling black at the casino. You just lose everything in one go.
Yeah, I mean, New World Esports Orion have been gifted a massive advantage in that bot side of the map. However, it looks like NWE wants to try to use that priority to really try to shove in this top side, get Zayek back into the game. Therefore, we see the Rift Herald crash down onto this tower. Too late for us to get any plates out of it, but still, this is going to be priority flowing to them over on this top side of the map. However, they do have to parlay away the second dragon of the game, so First Class still very much uninterrupted on that stacking.
I like that. I like the parlay right there, going with the gambling puns here. I love it. FC Solemn, though, like you said, trading tower for tower. They're going to get a little bit more here. Top for bottom, tier 1. Solo gold, crucially, going over to Solemn here. Unfortunately, I believe Zayek and Easy split that top lane gold. So this Victor gonna be a force to be reckoned with as he gets DP'd on right now. Woo!
All right, well, Solemn goes golden, has to flash out of the way of the Q from Zayek, but the thing is, can he deal with the fact that this Aatrox is now flashing down on top of them? Nice stanky leg footwork there to get out of the chains, but unfortunately, this Aatrox is just too tough to deal with in melee range.
He made them burn quite a bit though, right? The TPs, the flash, the ultimates, he put the blue suedes on, almost got out of there. Leandri's Torment on the Solemn. He's there, right? He's almost there. He's going to get the Zanyas. He's going to become this Victor that's going to be so hard to kill. It's going to be so hard to engage on, and it may be too little too late. But right now, at the 18-minute mark, blow for blow, these guys are dead even.
Thank God. Honestly, if we had another game where one of these teams was really ahead at the 20-minute mark, Shibby, I would have eaten my hands.
Yeah, and it's just, I love that this game 3 has culminated, into this kind of back and forth, blow for blow slugfest, right? You see where the prioritization is at for some of these teams, right? Zayek getting a lot of love, obviously picked up that Rift Herald. We see Truist kind of ganking for Bruiser, ganking for Pipe here, while on the side of Denali, he's kind of put some pressure onto Solemn, and they've kind of really are really just kind of keep him down and keep him out of this fight here. These two different play styles are finally clashing in. I think right now these junglers are doing the best they can to get their teams in these winning positions. They are the primary engage for both of their squads, and I think the fights start and end with these two.
Right, well, second Shelly is up. Only about a minute left to take that, and we still are a ways away from third dragon, so I feel that this is probably going to be a time in which not a whole lot happens, although as I say that, it looks like Red Squad are looking for the engage. Denali the King activates the Let's Bounce, but Mental Boomer's already dead. Boogie able to get the kill onto Jarvan as a response. Bruiser, maybe a little bit too deep, tries to fire out the guillotine, but that's just gonna give a double kill over to the Varus. And once again, Boogie is positioned to hyper carry NWE through this mid game.
Boogie with this on-hit Varus. I said, if it's on-hit, I'm afraid of Boogie. And right now, he's looking like the Boogie man. 5-0-3 on the Rift. First Class's worst nightmare is coming into fruition.
Ooh, that was just a fight for basically nothing, too. That's the other thing about this, Shibby, that really confuses me. Sure, did they even get the Rift Herald? I think that oh, they did in fact get the eye. I was gonna say, holy crap, if they didn't get that, it just despawned. It really was a fight for nothing for both sides. But New World Esports Orion, from a situation like that, and make a mountain out of a molehill, and because that is the case, they have a nice gold lead moving into this next dragon that First Class desperately wants to take.
It was really odd because they Cataclysm, both of the Tankiest members on the side of New World Orion, right?
Uh-oh.
Denali and Mental Boomer. Now, Peace Pipe, he's going to have to put the fancy shoes on. All right. I think he's okay.
Yeah, not that fancy, you know. Those are like Air Jordans, like on sale at TJ Maxx, kind of fancy, right? They just walk back towards the tower. That's the virtue of having tier 1 up, by the way. That's still an advantage that First Class has, as now Mental Boomer's getting engaged upon. But look at the follow-up damage that Boogie and Easy are able to pack down. The snipe deep into enemy territory. Once again, the Varus comes out on top as Peptic tries to push forward, staying alive for a hell of a long time. Mental Boomer eventually gonna pick the kill up, though. And wow, Victor does get the double kill. First Class is starting to collapse as Bruiser split away from the rest of the team. Zayak giving chase with the World Ender form. Peace Pipe is taking down, and now Solemn with no mana can do nothing to answer back against their mid laner.
No mana, no life, nothing to do there. Unfortunately, Truist dies, having the Cataclysm up. 2 ultimates on the side of First Class. That's their demise right now. Unfortunately, the Rift Herald gets popped as well. That's a tier 1, a tier 2 for themselves. New World Esports Orion coming out on top in the scrappiest of ways, just blow for blow right now. As you mentioned, Cloud Soul on the menu, Nyarko, your favorite, I suspect, here on for looks like this Rift. A lot of stuff is going back and forth, but unfortunately, First Class unable to find the engage that they want.
Look, man, until you play Lilia support, you can't understand how good Cloud Soul is. That's all I'm saying.
You've gone off the deep end. I know it now, Nyarko. You just said you're a Rel enjoyer and you play Lilia support. You have truly gone off the deep end with the League of Legends, as now your mad scientist takes will infect my brain here. But right now, Blue Otter League Platinum Week 2. Game 3 has been an absolute banger, and finally we see one team pulling farther and farther ahead here, getting some sort of foothold in this game.
And the problem is, while this gold lead is not that big, NWE Orion have so much of it concentrated on this Varus. Boogie is 6-1-4 with Winsu's completed alongside the shield bow, and I just don't think there's any chance to answer them if they're able to position well during team fights, which seems to be the case. Mental Boomer has been peeling like a champ when we're seeing Peptic and company go so deep to try to stop this AD carry of NWE and just fail in doing so. Peptic sacrificed themselves to try it. Truist sacrificed themselves to try it. Bruiser was zoned out in that last fight, but I guarantee you, they too are popping ghosts and running down the Varus at first chance possible, and I don't even think they're going to be able to accomplish that goal. Right now, NWE have control of this game as Truist is forced away from their own jungle.
It's just unfortunate because we haven't seen the combo come into effect here. First Class have the Cataclysm Storm ready to go, right? That's where you're going to get a huge chunk of damage. You just haven't been able to catch Boogie out, right? As now, Easy, Scatter the Weak does get used. This could be an opening. Never mind, they're not going to go in. All of these teams posturing around the Baron right now. This could be the fight for First Class. If they want to take it here, they can look for a flank. Vision is being cleared out, though. New World Esports Orion. Something's gonna happen right now. Both of these teams are posturing aggressively, man.
Okay, I will say, because we're about to jump right back onto the Boogie praise train, I can feel it in my bones, but Shibby, that was the worst Chains of Corruption I've ever seen as an attempt to engage that fight. The Aatrox is pinging it. Zayak knows what's up on that front.
It's a zoning ultimate, right? That's what you say. It's like, I just used it to zone him out.
Impressive fire.
Get him comfortable. Get him comfortable, right? Like, hey, I might miss my ulti, so you guys might be able to engage onto me as Denali throwing that elastic slingshot out right now. Truist had some really nice engages in the early game, but just hasn't been able to find anything come this 24-minute mark. You're ulting tanks as Jarvan, and that's the last thing you want to do here, because it frees up their carries like Easy, like Boogie, to kind of just free fire into your back line. And unfortunately, Peace Pipe is not at the level where he can output the same amount of damage as Boogie. Boogie is firmly far ahead, and this 2-item power spike from Varus is just much stronger.
And I think that we're at a point in time where Truist's best days are behind them, unfortunately. We didn't see the Jarvan do a whole lot of ganking shenanigans early, and because that is the case, while 2, 3, and 8 is not that bad of a score line, and the fact that they're building Bruiser does mean they will be able to do some damage during team fights, you gotta look at how hard it is for anyone on first class to decide to kill Denali at this point. The Zac is going to run this jungle, and they have the backup damage necessary for, I think, NWE Orion to really begin to contest this mid game. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing everybody start cheating towards that Baron Nashor and a fight to get underway soon.
Yeah, Cloud Dragon is unfortunately one of those dragons that both teams are kind of just willing to give up. They're like, all right, if you guys got there first, that's fine. You guys called shotgun. It's okay. I'll respect the rules, right? They're more than willing to keep giving up these dragons. And in the scaling war, like you said, Victor definitely outscales the Syndra here, but it feels like this Varus is just going to get to a point where he's absolutely unstoppable. And unless they can get the Dream Dive scenario with the Cataclysm, with the Kai'Sa ultimate, with the Storm being dropped, Boogie is just one tough cookie to crack.
Yep, for sure. And now first class is in an awkward mid-game scenario where, sure, they still would love to get to Soul Point, but I will understand and state here that, yeah, Cloud Soul, especially for the team, I don't think is really the best. And it's hard to really say that it's something you need to prioritize here. So with that in mind, they no longer have the pressure point on the map to dictate fights on their own terms. New World Esports, Orion, have far more pressure around that Baron Nashor that is actually the target of both teams right now.
You say Cloud Soul isn't something to be afraid, but then when you see Darius pop that Noxian guillotine
True.
with Cloud Soul running towards you with Ghost, that is a sight to see. We may get to see that scenario if first class kind of prioritize these dragons, but it could be rough because if they're all there, that could easily just be a Baron response, right? On hit Varus, very strong at taking these Barons. They have so much damage ready to unload.
I like this call though. Zayak has to get out
Uh-oh.
here. And now, even though Easy is teleporting in, I think that first class have controlled this fight quite nicely already. The Syndra shut down. Mental Boomer too deep. That's going to be a clean 2-0. And with everybody on the NWE side kind of scattered to the winds, first class are going to try to start up this Baron Nashor.
I think Orion thought that they were on the dragon because they had no vision on it, and then surprise, the rest of first class gonna pop out of the blue. And unfortunately, with those 2 kills, they swing it over to the Baron. They're gonna swing it on over potentially to the Cloud Dragon right now. Denali and Boogie are on it. Can they take it fast enough before the rest of the team is there? Trist has Flash Cataclysm available. Nyarko, this could end up being disastrous.
They're 50-50 inside of the pit. Boogie completely run down and shut down. Solid getting that kill. And while the smite will land true for New World Esports, Orion, Denali the King is going to struggle to get out alive as Cataclysm is activated. A nice little elastic slingshot into big blast plant combo, though, will be enough to save this Zac. But still, first class all of a sudden have turned this game on its head.
They get the pick. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. 2 key members, Mental Boom and Easy going down. That's all the peel taken away from Boogie. And you saw, once that Nautilus hook came in, he's dead to rights. The Baron goes their favor. The kills go their favor. They haven't evened up the gold just yet, but you have to believe that this Baron is going to give them a nice boon.
Yeah, I mean, it's evened up now, and Chibi, it's just going to get worse for them. First class have the ability to push now. We already talked about the fact that the towers are relatively even, and priority for first class can clearly be made because of their wave clear and pushing power. Bruiser, happy H side lane here. I still don't think that Zayak can 1v1 super comfortably. I think it's a pretty fraught fight for either side, and that means that first class now have a bunch of different directions to go to shove across the map.
Truist has found his form. He's seen the light. He understands that he has to get the engage onto one of these carries here, but now they are just posturing aggressively. They know they have the lead. Aatrox coming in with the TP, anticipating some sort of fight here. They get that resource out. They do need to push here. The wave clear and siege is really, really minimal for somebody like first class here. They have the Kai'Sa who needs to walk up. It just feels like they're waiting for first class, or sorry, New World to kind of misstep in the jungle, right? They're clearing the vision out. They're setting up the split push right now. There is no way we get a base race this far into the game, right?
This is a little bit of a fumble on First Class's side. I mean, New World Esports doing a really good job kind of gambiting the mid lane, forcing a back out of FC. They have to grab those minions before they could really try to push in elsewhere. And so because that is the case, now it's a full reset on the map. First Class are going to lose this time in which they could have established vision and control. It's back over to Orion's side, and so they will be able to absorb this initial pressure. It's just really a matter of now First Class trying to even up the gold off of the small amount of farm that they're going to get from this Baron. And from there, maybe if they get a pick, they could try to really get the advantage in this game. Right now, they're going to siege up that mid lane tier 2, though. But immediately, Denali the King is just going to slingshot over the wall, push these guys back. He's taking some punishment, but Mental Boomer doing a great job peeling away First Class from their jungler.
Bruiser had to burn the ghost here, got caught out by Easy. It's a whole chunk of damage, right? Even with Force of Nature available, he still got absolutely shredded, right? That's that Syndra that has the void staff, that has those shards that can kind of just burn through your MR in a blink of an eye here. Very, very strong mid lane in its own right. I think Easy, potentially, if he gets a nice scatter of the week onto somebody like Solemn, onto Peace Pipe, that damage coming in with the orbs, that ultimate, could just swing it here, right? We paid attention to Boogie. He had his time to shine. Now it's time for Easy to kind of step it up and turn up huge with this Syndra.
It's really anyone's game yet again. There was a time right there where I thought First Class could really just get a completely damning lead, but it ultimately didn't come true, right? New World Esports Orion played the defensive posture quite nicely, although now Zayak may be getting caught out bot side of the map. They activate World Ender, but with the gravity field right in front of them, they just have to try to turn and fight this 1v3, and unfortunately, while this is oftentimes a dream scenario for Fed Aatrox, Zayak is much more a facilitator in this game, and because that is the case, they are easily shut down by Bruiser.
I mean, that's an Iceborne Gauntlet and Anathema's chain Aatrox, right? This isn't that big gore drinker, black cleaver kind of Aatrox, or that Eclipse Aatrox, right? This is somebody that is built for team fights, that is built for the brawl, that when you split like that, you're just going to get instantly jumped on here. And with Dragon coming up in about 45 seconds, I feel like New World Esports have to kind of concede it because Zayak died there in the bot side, and the rest of New First Class is just there to kind of put vision down. And it's going to be really hard to walk into this darkness, especially when Truist has Flash Cataclysm available.
It's so odd that at the 32-minute mark, Shibby, this is really where the game becomes about inches more so than explosive team fights. First Class got that pick, and because of that, they control tempo of the game right now. New World Esports Orion have to respect it, yet still they play confidently with Denali, trying to clear out some vision, Mental Boomer doing the same. However, the macro decision to go for and contest what could be Soul Point for First Class looks like it's going to fall by the wayside. New World Esports just going to try to establish vision elsewhere. Baron up in about half a minute. That's something to watch out for.
Yeah, Baron is up. Like I said, they're going to concede this Dragon here. They don't have the vision. They don't want to throw the game here. That timers can get pretty long at the 32-minute mark. Smartly pulling it away so Zach can't drive by with the Smite steal. And Baron, 20 seconds now. I feel like New World Esports, if they give this one up, they're going to lose the inhibitor turret for sure here, right? They have to kind of force a fight here and pray that the Syndra Zac combo comes in. Now, we've seen First Class flub a Baron before when it was even, when it was 5v5. Have they learned their lesson, Niarco?
I don't think that they could actually take this. There's no picks on the map. New World Esports have tons of resources, and so while the big purple worm is going down, now we see the engage. Denali the King pushing in, winning the Smite fight. They steal the Baron. Now Clash are getting rounded around this neutral objective. Shibby, we saw this before, and now New World Esports Orion get everything they need to end the game.
First Class flub the Baron. They've got the butterflies, the jitters in their steps. Unfortunately, they couldn't commit. They went for both Baron and Aatrox. Once again, they split their attention, and New World Esports, off the back of that whiff, will take game 3, clawing their way back here. The reverse sweep, 2-1. That's all they needed. And First Class hitting themselves in the head.
Cruz tries to jump in, tries to do something in a 1v5 scenario, but they will just give a little bit more gold and some more padded stats to NWE Orion as they deservedly take this game. First class, they coin flipped, and I have no clue why. That was a game of Russian roulette they played around that Baron Nashor Shibby, and they were punished horribly for doing so.
They just brought the broom in, right? New World Esports said, you know what? You don't take Barons that well. You don't know what to do. We'll just wait. We'll let you get into this pit. If we get the steal, fine. If Denali gets the smite, that's okay. But we're just going to clean up with Easy and Boogie here. And I said it was Easy's time to shine. It was his time to pick up the slack. You see the scoreboard there. Both of these massive carries for New World Esports Orion coming in hot and coming in to save the game for them. Really well played. But like I said, I feel like both of these teams walk away with a lot of VOD review to go into this week.
I really do not understand what First Class was thinking there at the end, Shibby. That game was so close for so long. We had a banger on our hands, but they get slobber knocked off of one of the worst macro decisions I've seen in a while. New World Esports Orion, like I said, deservedly get the dub there. But as you said, it really is just going to be a matter of VOD review for both sides because they were kind of handed a win when there was so much more of the game that they had to play out. And they made mistakes of their own, right? Why did the first Baron go down anyway to First Class? It was because they overstepped their boundaries, because they didn't team fight front to back, which is necessary for Boogie to really pop off. And from there, I really thought that we were going to see FC get the dub here going 2-1, but in fact, it was the reverse. New World Esports Orion lead themselves with a victory here in week number 2, in game number 2 of their time in the Blue Otter League Platinum Division. But with that in mind, it does mean it's the end of the series and an end for our night here. Shibby, thank you so much for casting alongside me. It's been a blast, an absolute pleasure, and I cannot wait for the rest of the season with you.
Yeah, if the games are like this, Nyarko, I think I'm going to need to have a doctor on call. My heart was pumping every second of the way here. Game 2 and game 3. I might just fall into cardiac arrest, man. That was an absolutely wild series. And you know what they say, Nyarko? You have to be there to catch the throw. It can't just be a throw ready. And it looks like New World Esports definitely had the mitt ready. Really well played, really fun series from both of these guys. A lot to review, but honestly, a pleasure casting with you.
All right. Well, with that in mind, guys, we are going to head off for the night. Thank you so much for tuning in for the BOL. And make sure to come back here, drop a follow for the Twitch channel, and catch up with all the leagues that we have going. It's not just the Plat League. We got a Masters League, I believe now. Got Diamond as well. Something along those lines. Honestly, just because I'm coming in a little bit late, I'm not fully contextualized with what's going on. But regardless, we go live basically every day of the week. So make sure to catch all the streams, all the casters. Great pool of talent to draw from. And honestly, as you saw tonight, there's banger games. It's always action-packed here in the BOL. Shout out to Pop-Tart once again on the production side of things, running a tight ship, running the mod checks as well there in the Twitch chat. So give them a round of applause for everything that they do. But that is all from us tonight. On behalf of Shibby, Pop-Tart, and myself, everybody have a good night.